Felicitations, adventurers. Welcome to Roll for Felicity, where today we are playing Tangled Blessings. I tell stories in a multitude of systems with an abundance of players, and today I'm joined by Colin Epstein. And like I said, we're playing Tangled Blessings by Cassie Mothwin. If you're new here, I'm Taylor Felicity. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the producer for this channel. And I'm, without further ado, just going to throw it over to Colin to introduce themselves.
Amazing. Hello, my name is Colin. I use they and he pronouns. I am the creative director and GM for the Roll Report, available wherever you find your fine podcasts. I also do a wide variety of other things in the world and some amount of things in the online world as well. And I am so thrilled to be back for part 2 because part 1 was amazing and so much fun. So yeah, that's me. Thank you for having me back.
Thank you for coming back. I appreciate it, especially when I told you it was going to be a one shot. And then we got halfway through,
I'll
and I was
take it.
like, this is not a one shot. If you want to check out Colin, other places you can find them, their link tree is in chat right now. And if you're watching this later on YouTube, it's in the YouTube description. So as I mentioned, we are playing this game Tangled Blessings. Which, speaking of links, you can, if you want to get this game for yourself, you can find it also linked either in the description or in chat, depending on when you're watching this. It's a really good game. You can play it as one-player or two-player game. And if you're familiar with Anamnesis by Sam Lee, it's the same system that Anamnesis uses, although it tells a very different type of story. So definitely check it out. This is a game where we will be using tarot cards to find out what happens to us as we train for 4 years at a magical academy. So about a month ago, Colin and I did the first 2 years. This is the second half of the game, and we're going to be seeing what happens in our 3rd and 4th years at Brackroot Academy. There are some things that you can do to help the stream. There are a couple things you can do with channel points, which if you are unfamiliar with Twitch, it is the free currency that you get just for watching the stream. So there are you can like, I think one of them is you can name a character, is one of them, things like that. Or if you're
You ever
not
wanted us to have an academy rival named Bodie McBoatface? Now's the time.
Yeah, you can cash in some channel points to do that. Also, something that you can do, if you tip, so if you use real money, not not felicitations, you can choose what prompt you would like for us to do. So we'll each be pulling 2 cards for each year, and so you can like get in there and let me see. This is the command, I believe. For $3 or 300 bits, you can tell us a tarot card of your choice to influence our prompt, or tell us which prompt you want us to do, depending on what you want and when you're cashing it in. And then the last thing that you can do, congratulations, you're already doing it. Whether you are watching live right now on Twitch or whether you're watching on YouTube later, really appreciate you being here, and I hope you enjoy what you're about to see. And I'm going to kind of quickly do a little recap of what happened in our last session. So kind of a sentence or 2 per prompt of our first 2 years at school. So in our first year of school, Lennox and Aster, we were both heralded as magical prodigies and told that if one of us were able to defeat the other at the end of 4 years, we'd be held in great esteem and given an important magical position, which maybe explains why, leading up to our time going to Brackroot before we arrived, we both had a dream where Lennox killed Aster with a fireball. Lennox later convinced Aster to be their partner in presentation, and then lied and said she had not contributed to the project, turning the other students in the class against her. She had a bit of petty revenge on Lennox when they were playing when they were studying I don't know why I said playing, they were studying magical midwifery, by having a ghost of an old-timey surgeon plague them with gruesome descriptions of their medical experiences. Lennox and Aster both learned that their wells of power could be tapped and potentially lost forever when a training duel went wrong for Aster. Lennox proved very proficient with opening portals, but when he tried to use one to get into the restricted section of Brackroot's library, he was rebuffed and branded with a small black circle at the base of his neck, a magical countermeasure. Lennox stayed at Brackroot Academy over the summer, having no friends or family to return home to. Aster traveled, secretly visiting her home, and was spotted by a private detective investigating her mysterious disappearance. In the second year, Aster was haunted by a ghost who told her she was being hunted by a traitor. Lennox stepped in to pay the ghost so it wouldn't continue to haunt her, and Aster called for truce between them after Lennox said, "I'm not the traitor. I'm not trying to hurt or kill you." Lennox, this is such a small moment, but I had to include it. Lennox kissed Aster's hand after they shook on it, which they kind of thought was a power move. Aster thought it was weird.
Lennox convinced themselves it was a power move for sure. I still am like, I don't know exactly how they feel about it, but
why they did it, what their motivation was. Lennox also spent 12 hours summoning a demon to intimidate a redistricting committee, which ended, unfortunately, in bloodshed. Ghost. Aster in the second year was plagued by ghosts and spirits because a ghost of Aster's ancestor tried to tell her that she and Lennox could strengthen each other, which triggered a week of nightmares and sleepwalking for Aster, eventually leading to a heart-to-heart with Lennox when they woke her up and were like, "Hey, what's going on?" After that, they both helped rescue a bunch of missing students who'd been lured into the woods by a pillar that was using their magic for some nefarious purpose. At the end of the year, the speaking gem called them to it and told them they would find what they were looking for in the Grand Rotunda, but instead found a magical trial where they fought a manifestation of their fears. A fire elemental sprung from Lennox's out-of-control power, wearing Lennox's face. They worked together to defeat it and were rewarded with 2 magical wands, both made from the same tree of legend. But both felt disappointed, I think, that was the thing that we ended up with. We both kind of were like, what are we actually looking for? What are our hopes? What are our goals, dreams, all of those kinds of things. And that was the end of year 2, which brings us to our 3rd year at Brackroot Academy, which we will be using pentacles to draw our cards from. I think last time we went that I went first and then you went first. Do you want to swap that for the last 2 years, or do you want to keep it the same?
Sure. Either way.
Yeah, let's swap it.
Like that we have good. Okay.
Let's have you go first.
All right, I'm going first. I'm going to do a nice little bit more of a shuffle on these. Pentacles. Okay.
Pentacles.
If I hold them this way, you see which one I'm getting. Okay.
A little treat for the audience.
Right. Okay, we arrive back at the school. Ooh, this one looks nice. Okay, what do we got? Oh, interesting. Okay, we've got the 9 of Pentacles.
Ooh.
I do like. I love the artwork. Like it's so cool.
Yeah.
Emily Lubenko's tarot deck, and I don't know if it's still available, but go check her out. It's amazing. Okay, oh man, right. Things are like dark this year. I really appreciate this about all the prompts. They're like, it's not.
They get darker and darker. Woof. Yeah.
This is very on point for Lennox. I will say this. 9 of Pentacles. While exploring the grounds, something made you angry. So angry that arcane energy erupted from your skin and tore every leaf from a nearby tree to shreds. The tree remains bare to this day. What caused you to lose your temper? Did anyone get hurt? How do you keep your powers in check now? And what rumors were caused by this event? Woof.
Dang.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna go for a major arcana pull for an inspiration. I have an idea, but I'm curious to see what chance and probability have to say about the best laid plans of mice and men and all that sort of thing. Yeah. Well, Interesting.
Ooh.
Again, amazing artwork. And okay. Hmm.
Which card is that? I cut
Oh, sorry.
camera cut off the title.
That is the
Oh, the
devil.
devil. Okay.
Uh, I think in okay, I'm becoming a fan of how we are able to keep tying earlier years in.
Hmm.
Lennox was practicing a bit of nature magic. Doesn't really come easily to them, and as much as manipulating people, manipulating nature
Hmm.
is a much different thing. And they were interrupted by the devil that they summoned.
Oh, yeah, that's so
I
good.
Yep, that guy. So that guy's coming back, and I
He's been
think
wandering around for this
it
for a
I
year.
I feel like he saw something in Lennox that was the like, ooh, maybe if I like, stick a couple of forks in this person, like I get the soul or whatever version of that we want for this.
Yeah.
And so the devil came back, and I think it is a combination of, Lennox already knew shit, I made a bad contract with this thing and it
Hmm.
murdered a bunch of people. And I think it was probably lying, but I think the devil said, "Oh yeah, hey, I sort of did that to like the rest of your whole entire country. It seemed like they really needed a bit of shaking up. So it was the redistricting committees. I remembered that bit." And just like went on a rampage around the country.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so rather than helping this tree grow, which I think was the assignment,
Hmm.
Lennox is just listening to this and he's just getting like turning brighter, more flushed red, and like hair standing up and little rocks and things nearby starting to levitate. And when the devil just sort of is like, I did what you wanted to, right? Lennox just
Uh.
erupts, and this flare of magic tears all the leaves off of the tree. The tree is like, emits its horrible little plant-based sound of sadness. And the devil, I think, is inadvertently banished. Like Lennox didn't mean to at all, but just
Yeah.
was angry. Um, so I think the devil got hurt a little bit and
Hmm.
might actually have a bit of a second thought here. And I think he would also do his best to spread rumors. Um,
Oh, about
like
yourself.
uh, well, or either that like that something was, a magical creature broke the boundary of the
Oh,
academy
I
and was
see what you're
attacking the
saying.
tree, and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
he's
yeah.
trying to make himself as like the savior of the tree. Isn't it a shame it has no leaves? But at least it's alive magically. I'm keeping it alive. And I and if I'm remembering, like Aster knew about the demon, at least knew about the summoning.
I knew you summoned something. I don't think I knew it was a
Okay.
demon, but I was going by when you were like chanting for 12
Yeah,
hours.
yeah.
So I think I
Certainly something.
explicitly didn't know it was a demon, but I knew you were summoning something.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think, it's there was this magical experiment that I don't know, it like something came out of the laboratory window on the fourth floor and it was like heading straight for this poor tree. And I tried to just deflect it. I don't really know what happened. It sort of worked. And then someone else is like, so this thing came out of the forest, and like it's past our magical bestiary class. I don't even know really what it was, and it was trying to attack me, and I took cover behind this tree, and I somehow I closed my eyes and I felt this big surge of power, and when I opened my eyes, the thing was gone and there were no leaves. I don't know, just any story, and probably like each separate group of their I think by year 3 there's like 2 people that are actually friends and like the rest are still sycophants. But like everyone's getting a slightly different rumor, just that. And yeah, yeah.
I like that. Do we have a name for this devil? Because I feel like that if they've come up twice, maybe
Ooh.
they should become named.
They should become named. I agree. Wow. On the
You could
spot
also,
demon naming is difficult. Hold on.
yeah.
Let's see
I can
what
also give you
fantasy
some
name
time.
generators. Let's see what fantasy name generator has, because they're it's always really hilarious. Okay,
Yes.
demons. There we go. Ooh. Okay, I like this one. EGAC. EGAK. Why not?
EGAC. I
It's
love
the
that.
demon EGAC.
Um, that's very fun. All right, I'll add that to our little
Yeah.
menagerie of characters. Summoned by Lennox and I guess dismissed.
Accidentally.
The next year. All right, cool. There's always a chance that they could come back. I think.
Oh yeah, very much.
Um.
And
Okay, so we've got how do you keep your powers in check now? I don't think you've answered that part
I
of
did not
the
answer
prompt.
that. And how was Aster involved? What did Aster see?
Hmm. And also, did anyone get
I
hurt? I'm assuming no, because you haven't mentioned it yet.
I
But
think
feeling
no. I'm gonna say no, because for one, Lennox does like to be alone if they're trying something they're not good at,
yeah,
like summoning something for 12 hours, or nature magic and trying to convince a tree to flower or something rather than just ordering,
yeah.
So I don't think anyone else got hurt besides the tree and the demon a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, I Lennox. So Lennox thinks that their powers are in check. I This makes them realize that, very heightened emotions, especially very heightened frustration and anger and rage, which is something that they're very familiar with from their childhood, can trigger this outburst. And I think rather than trying to, acquire an amulet or a sigil or something, like learning about something that they can do to keep other people safe around them, they're just like, oh, well, I'm going to avoid these situations.
Yeah.
Now that I recognize that this emotion is a trigger, I'm just smart enough and capable enough to avoid that situation and like make sure it doesn't happen again.
I'll simply never get angry again.
Or that angry. They're like, okay, well, I know better than to summon a demon and have it, do something ever. And if I just can avoid situations like that, I'm golden.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of how Aster is involved in this, and also I think there's some da, da, da,
I gotta go back.
things that it has as like potential like questions for like how
Mhm.
the rival is involved. So let me find that. Um, we already did that. Um, oh, maybe
Mm.
there's. I'm not seeing it now. I thought there was a place that was like questions of like how. Oh yeah, I found it. Two-player changes. How are
Yeah.
they involved? How did they remember the event? Did they hear rumors that make it sound worse? Those are the questions that are in here. Okay. I think I definitely heard rumors because you're intentionally spreading rumors. So I think
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
must have heard
Yeah.
some. Um,
Definitely.
I think the even though Aster and Lennox have kind of come to a truce and have like worked together for things, I still think Aster at a baseline does not trust Lennox because Lennox is a liar. Like
Mhm.
most of what they
Yeah.
say is not
I
true.
I mean, yes, and I think it's to pretty much everyone but Aster. And
Yeah.
I think just because I do think she would know that since she's recognized some of his tells, that
Yeah,
Lennox
yeah.
is more honest with her than with anyone else. Not that that's a high bar to clear.
Yeah, right. So I think hearing all these different rumors, and I think maybe even hearing some of them coming from Lennox's hangers on is kind of assuming that whatever happened or is being told about what happened is not what happened. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, hmm, I'm trying to decide. I think um I'm caught between deciding between two things. One of Aster just going to Lennox and being like, "Okay, what actually happened? Tell it to me straight."
Mm-hmm.
Or the other thing that I'm considering is Aster telling people, I bet that's not what happened. Like just spread or even like spreading counter rumors of like I think it was
Mm-hmm.
actually this thing. I think
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna pull a major arcana
Yeah.
card to see which of those two options I go
Yeah.
with.
Both seem like a very Aster response. I kind of
Yeah.
in like leaning into two different facets of her personality and how she feels about Lennox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's pull. This is okay. It's the tower, but it is reversed. So
Okay.
let me look at the shortened brief arcana meanings. Oh, this doesn't have reversed, I think. But ruin, disaster, fear, distress, inevitability. I think I'm gonna ignore
Mm.
that it's reversed because I think the
Okay.
more disastrous thing to do is to not go to Lennox. I think year two we kind of had a little bit of like a friendly rivalry. I think the trial
Mm.
scared Aster a little bit. Um, and I think they've had time like not in each other's company since it's like the break between school
Yeah.
years. And so I think instead of letting that be like a thing where it's like, oh, we can have some common ground now, Aster keeps thinking about how scary that was and how like close to like being killed they both were, and thinking of like, well, Lennox is the one who went. I only went
Mm.
to the Grand Rotunda because Lennox went.
Mm-hmm.
So I think is not only like telling her friends like I don't think that's really what happened, but is also like coming up with alternative
Yeah.
theories. And I think even at a certain point tells people like, well, I think that Lennox probably just destroyed that tree or like did something like messed up
Mm-hmm.
to it because at the end of last year we ended up fighting this thing and Aster summoned this like fire element by accident, and so I think it was something like that that like
Uh-huh.
which is maybe a little too close to the truth but is not quite the truth, and I think is like spreading it to people. um
Mm-hmm.
doesn't want Lennox to know that she's the one spreading the rumors because I think she feels that it's kind of like not a cool thing to do. Um,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
but is definitely spreading even different rumors that are putting Lennox in a bad light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that tracks.
Makes sense. Is there anything else you want to add
Um,
to that prompt?
no, that I think that one feels kind of complete to me.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I
cool.
think by the end of the affair, a week or so later, as there's like countering rumors flying around, I think Lennox is just like, ah, shit. Maybe I shouldn't have just said anything at all. And just
Yeah, just been like, I don't know
yeah,
what happened to that tree. Nobody
it's
was
I don't
there.
know, is it great?
Cool.
Yeah,
Okay, so I'll pull a card. Before I do that, I want to say,
yeah.
B-Bars, thank you so much for the Prime subscription. It's good to see you, and also thank you for the sub.
Yay! Thank you.
Um,
Welcome.
okay, so I'm gonna pull a card, which is the Seven of Pentacles. My light makes it kind of hard for the camera to see. Also, actually, I will say, while I'm doing this,
Mm-hmm.
if you feel so led, you could generate a student to be um, one of your actual
Ooh.
friends or hangers on.
I will
There
take a moment to do that.
there
Yeah.
is towards the end of the book there's a student generator, so you can just pull major
Yeah.
arcana cards to do that. You don't have to, but could be fun.
Yep. 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 Absolutely.
All right, so I got a 7 of Pentacles. Also, I don't think I've said this yet, but I am still kind of recovering from COVID, so my voice may start to go as the stream continues. So for anyone watching, that's what's happening. Okay. You heard a crashing sound in the common room and discovered a housemate had broken the full-length mirror. Glass shards littered the room. The housemate screamed, "I saw a creature made of smoke inside it." You and others cleaned the mess, but the student who broke the mirror became sick. Starting with their hands, their bodies slowly turned the color of ash. They were eventually quarantined with faculty overseeing their care. What was the student like when they returned? Did you believe their story about the creature? Did you do anything to protect yourself? This is very interesting. Okay, I think I will
Hmm.
also generate a student to be the student that this happens to. So I will pull Major Arcana. Oh, I didn't shuffle, so that's the tower again. But that's just because I set it right
Okay.
back down on top.
I did shuffle, and the first card that I pulled.
This is so
This is
weird.
Cassie Moth, whenever you are, you've brought some very interesting and odd sympathetic magic into this game, and I'm fucking here for it. I'm so here for it.
Very strange.
Okay, so that is.
Oh, I also
Oh,
need to
okay.
pull for okay, let's see.
So yeah, the student generator is really interesting. I'm into this. Apparently, my friend actually murdered someone. That is in.
That makes sense to be friends with.
That is their secret. This is so. To describe this for our viewers, like the student generator has 2 tables, and you can draw from the major arcana. One of them is kind of for which house they're in and what their secret is, and I just pulled from that. And the tower, number 16. I can still read Roman numerals. The student is from the House of Celestials, and their secret is that they murdered someone.
That's so. That's good.
It's very Lennox. Honestly, Lennox probably found out and was like, "Yeah, that's fine.
We're friends now."
This is someone this is like, well, this is someone who I can be friends with, not just treat as a follower."
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Ooh, okay. So I pulled a major arcana for my prompt, which I pulled Judgment. So I'll get into that in a second. For the student that this happened to, I pulled the Lovers, which they are from the House of Celestials, which is interesting because this happened in the common room. I'm gonna actually just change it to be that they're from the House of Elements.
I think that makes sense.
That's where I am. But
Oh,
their secret is
I
they
might be
stole
looking
someone
at
else's
this
invite.
wrong. I might be looking at this wrong, or I don't know, not wrong, but like you could pull separately for house and for secret.
Oh, yeah, I guess you could. I was
It's
also
a little
reading it as it's the same, but
I was
yeah.
looking at that, and I think I'm gonna. No, that makes sense. We're only third years. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, that's fine. So I'm gonna change mine so that they're from the House of Elements that this happened to, because it makes sense with the story. Their secret is they stole someone else's invite to the academy, which is very interesting. I think that will definitely come into play with whatever their fate has been. And then I'm gonna pull another card to determine their year, position, and personality. Which I got the High Priestess, which is number 2. Their second year, an instructor assistant, and their personality is distant. This is making sense. And then let me really quick. Go ahead.
I was going to say some of it does, and what I was looking at for the second one for myself, for this actual friend, I have pulled 8 strength, and the thing that doesn't make sense to me is column 1, year in position. It is first year class clown.
This is a wild person.
And their personality is reclusive. And this is where I'm like, I feel like class clown and reclusive somehow are like, it could be possible. They just
Yeah.
like pop up and do mime shows in the window on the 5th floor, and no one knows how they get there.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well,
You
you know what?
know?
That's interesting.
Hmm.
Beavers and Touches said Eddie from Stranger Things, which I do think is a class clown who's reclusive. It's somebody who's like a social outcast, but then when they're forced to be in class, are disruptive and kind of a class clown. So that could make
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
but again, totally up to you. You can pull as many cards as you want or change really whatever you want.
No, I like this. I'm gonna find a
Roll
name
with it.
for him. Yeah.
Um, okay, so I think going back to the actual prompt after that flurry of pulling cards, um, I think because the major arcana I pulled is judgment, um, I am just gonna take that as a very straightforward reading of this. I think in the weeks that the student is like in the infirmary and all these different things, um something has happened that we know there's like safeguards in the academy itself to like
Hmm.
keep people from like going places they shouldn't go and doing things they shouldn't do. And I think this is my first time seeing kind of how cutthroat Brackroot is, as there are
Mm.
these rumors that are swirling that like the reason why this happened to this student is because they weren't supposed to be here. Like the school itself found out or like realized in
Hmm.
kind of like a white blood cell, like
Yeah.
ejecting or destroying a germ that's not supposed to be there. Um, and I think in addition to that, people start talking about like, oh, I remember in the first year they like had this accident where they like fell from one of the towers and like
Mm.
it's I think there's a lot of different things the school has been doing to try to get them out of the academy, and this person has just kind of stubbornly persisted. And so I think they get sick. They turn the color of ash. They're eventually quarantined. What was the student like when they returned? Um, I think they were very I think they came back with more limited mobility. I think this was like almost a petrification kind of thing that
Mm.
started to happen to
Hmm.
them that was partially cured, but not fully. And so when they come back, I think that their limbs are able to like work the way that they could before, but I think their face can't emote. It's like just a very like stony faced.
Creepy.
Yeah, like they can still talk, they can still blink, but it's too much Botox kind of effect where they're not really able to.
Uh-huh.
So everything they say is delivered very flatly, and they're very hard to read. um
Yeah.
I think I do believe their story about the creature. um and I think for a while, the final question is, did you do anything to protect yourself? I think for a while, a lot of students are superstitiously like covering mirrors
Hmm.
and doing all these things to like, because nobody knows exactly why this happened. But I think as people kind of start talking about like, oh, I heard this happened to somebody like a couple years ago and it turned out that they were not supposed to be here, or like they got like somebody got expelled and then when they came back they got turned to stone because they tried to like sneak back into the school, things like that.
Hmm.
So I think after
Hmm.
that, the people kind of, I think a couple of people drop out of
Yeah.
school. But I think apart
Makes
from
sense.
that, people kind of start doing anything to really protect themselves because it's like, and there's kind of an attitude of the student body of like, well, that they kind of had that coming. And I think people are very cold to that student who does stay in school for whatever reason, even
Yeah.
though
Yeah.
they've had all these
Determined
things
to be a
happen to
wizard.
them.
Yeah.
They're really determined.
I
But yeah, how's Lennox involved in this?
I well, so I really like what you were saying about kind of the school's reaction and this almost immune system defense, because to me that plays directly into Lennox's desire to break the system open for the benefit of more
Yeah.
people.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
they're not a legacy. They don't have any like connection here, and so I think they have felt somewhat of that outsider status as well. I
Mhm.
think how we have constructed the school and its sort of attitudes, the attitude is not, it's not people without lineage should not belong here, but
Mhm.
someone who stole someone else's invitation, like they had just enough of a magical ability to like, spot the mouse running over with a little note, like spot the strangely shaped leaf in their neighbor's yard, like whatever it was.
Mhm.
So yeah, I to Lennox, this is an example of the system is built to keep people out and to keep
Mhm.
people down. And I see that in the real world, and I was going to try to change that, but now I'm going to try to change the school system as well here. So
Yeah.
Lennox's involvement comes after the fact as these rumors are going around. Lennox, for one, pushes back on the "they don't deserve to be here" narrative because to him, well, no, this person showed the ingenuity, the resourcefulness, the craftiness, and the dedication and the magical ability to spot that invitation and take it for themselves. So I think Lennox admires this student as they probably had no idea who this person was until now, you know, but as they learn, they're like, "Oh, no, this is someone, this is unfortunate. This person should not have had this happen." And the fact that it did and the fact that the school reacting this way is kind of offensive to me. And I think Lennox goes to try to talk to this person. I don't know if they do because Lennox absolutely has a reputation, especially now as someone who destroys trees. Uh, but I think they go to try to express sympathy and as much empathy
Ooh.
as they can. Um, and might try to go find Aster and be like, "What the fuck actually happened?" If Lennox knows that this happened in Aster's house and
Ooh. Yeah, I like that. Um, yeah, what do you think? I think before we, because I'd like to have a
yeah,
conversation between Lennox and Esther, but
yeah,
before that, I'll leave it up to you, I think. How do you think, which I decided to name the student
mm, okay,
while you were elaborating on things. So her name is Sophie, Sophie Zarella.
okay,
Um, and she is a second year, so she's well, arguably a year younger than us. People are generally around the same age, but doesn't not necessarily.
yes.
Um, and she has a distant personality. So how do you think she reacts to Lennox coming to visit her?
I think that I guess one, it depends a little bit on what stage of sort of
Oh
petrification
yeah.
she's in. Like if she can answer and like be somewhat coherent, maybe it's a nice thing. If she's just like laying there, basically trapped in night terrors, like I'm sure she's not
I
having
think
it.
she, I think she can answer. I think it's more
Yeah,
interesting if there's like actually an
yeah.
interaction.
I think Lennox's approach is not to comment at all on what's happening or to Sophie, and not really anything beyond going to just simply sit there and be present with her for a little while and maybe offer to use his own small magics to make her more comfortable, and eventually after a little while of just sort of being there, lead into the I Lennox thinks that Sophie is belongs here and tries to emphasize that point and push back against whatever she might have heard from other students, or who knows, maybe the staff is even kind of in on this, and like I would like to think they're still treating her with great care in the
Yeah.
infirmary wherever, but like you know yeah, so Lennox goes and tries to express a lot of sympathy and empathy and really some admiration, like I was saying, like, "Oh, Sophie, you deserve to be here. You got that invitation from someone. Like, you saw it and you pursued it. You belong here. And I I admire where you've come from and how you've gotten to this place.
Yeah. I kind of think, unless you have an idea of how you want her to
Mm,
respond, I think she kind of talks about like at first she's like I think confides in you that she's planning on dropping out
mm-hmm.
after she's restored as much as she can be. Um but I think you're talking about like you deserve to be here. You got that invitation. I think that's the reason why she doesn't. I think that is like enough of a push
Mm,
for her to decide to stay in school. And I think at some point she even says like if I saw the invitation and I found it and I took it, isn't it mine? Like everyone gets their invitations in these strange ways.
yeah.
Why doesn't
And
that count for me?
Lennox's response just yes. Yes, that's what that means.
Yeah.
Like I think to him it is that it is as soon as she says this, like, yeah, it's that simple. Like I
Yeah.
know I got mine in a weird way. I know maybe by now know that Aster still kind of got the invitation in a weird way if she's shared that. Like
Yeah.
weird stuff happens. Like it, yeah. Magic. What I've learned in a couple years, magic's weird and doesn't follow its own fucking rules sometimes. So like, yeah, that was your invitation. Didn't belong to your neighbor or wherever it came from. Like that was yours.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Mhm.
So yeah, so then I think after that you said you wanted to go talk to Aster about it, about like what happened.
Yeah, I think and probably after talking to Sophie as well,
Mhm.
trying to get whatever she wants to remember. I go
Oops.
find the library is usually a pretty good spot to find Aster or Lennox. So
Yeah.
starting there, but wherever he finds Aster, walk up and
Yeah. Maybe
yeah. Mm.
maybe one of like the dining halls, maybe like during a
Hmm.
meal or something like that. I think maybe Lennox goes to the library and like and Aster's there, but she like leaves as soon as he starts to come up to her. Is like kind of clearly avoiding them.
Well, and
um
I like to imagine also Lennox like walks in, like kind of starts going, hey, and Aster just leaves. And then like the dinner bell goes off, and Lennox is like suddenly hears his stomach growling. He's like, oh right, I haven't eaten in like 36 hours because magic.
yeah.
But following and I, as politely as possible, not letting Aster get away. Like when
Yeah.
when they reach the dining hall and Aster has food, Lennox just kind of comes up and goes, Aster, do you mind if I asked you something? And I'd rather do it slightly more privately. The end of the table, just
Okay, yeah, but I only have a couple minutes. I'm supposed to meet people
it's
for dinner.
yes, of course, of course. I just can you tell me what actually happened to Sophie? I know she lives in your
Oh.
house, and I don't know if you know or someone in your house would. She wasn't particularly clear on the details.
Aster like visibly relaxes when that's what you're asking about because I think she assumed that it was going to be on the rumors about the tree
Yeah.
and says, "Oh, Sophie, I didn't see what happened. I wasn't there. I mean, I was there, but like
Mm.
I was just in the room and then all of a sudden she was screaming and all this different stuff. Yeah, I think it was because, well, I mean, she's not supposed to be here,
According to whom?
according to everybody. I mean, according to the school.
Well, I the school has plenty of ways of keeping people out, and yet she's here. Isn't she a student as much as anyone else?
I think the school's been attacking her.
Look, however it happened, she has an invitation. She's here. She's been here for almost 2 years. Uh, Look, I don't know that that's actually the point that I was trying to make here. But you didn't see she just was staring at a mirror and then broke it, screamed.
I don't know if she broke it or something broke out of it. I don't know. She said it was a creature made of smoke, but I didn't see that. I guess I
Huh.
believe her. She seemed, I mean, she was pretty freaked out, so I don't think she would have had the wherewithal to lie about that.
I mean, I feel like I read something about creatures like that in our demonology class at some point. I might have to do some research. Look, just thank you. That's what I really wanted to know. But just think about whether or not people actually belong here, right? Like, look, as far as I've read, 100 or 200 years ago, I wouldn't belong here because I'm not a legacy. My family has no ability to speak of, and who's to say that Sophie taking that invitation wasn't exactly how the invitation was supposed to get to her?
I
No
think
one
the
knows how the
school
speaking
is,
gem works.
I think the school is to say it's trying to get her out of here. And I know you hate rules, but like with magic,
Not all of them.
there's reason to follow some rules. And I think I'm like kind of pointedly looking like as if I could see through your neck to the circle on
Lennox
your
just like
spine.
almost unconsciously just like rubs the back of their neck a little bit, just like become a gesture. I I get that, but I don't know. Anyway, I never thought I'd be the one asking you to have empathy for someone else. That doesn't seem like how we usually interact, but I don't know. She's really down, and I think she belongs here just as much as anyone else does. And maybe that's worth nothing, maybe that's worth something, but I don't think it's up to us or really the school once she's here to try to make her leave.
Well, I didn't do anything to her, so you don't have
I'm
to
sorry, I
lecture
didn't.
me
Oh no, no, I'm
about it.
not suggesting you did. I don't know. Anyway, I'm I'm sorry to bother you. Thank you for telling me about that.
Yeah, see you around.
Sure. And Lennox like walks back to the library to look up smoke monsters without eating, of course.
I
Like
think as
somewhere around 2 a.m. that night, they're
oh
like, "Oh
no.
shit, I need to
I
eat."
didn't eat again. I think there is this moment when you're leaving that Aster's friends like show up to sit with her, and you hear like a little bit of the like laughter and conversation that feels like when people are talking about you behind your back. Like there
Mm-hmm.
is like a little bit of like it seems like Aster is kind of a little bit meaner than she was
Mm.
last year for some reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Lennox is like, there's like one quick look over their shoulder, and then just like, nope, smoke monster.
I have to focus on something.
Yeah. Yeah. Forgot about that. I forgot about that whole yawning empty pit that my stomach has turned into. Nope. Doesn't matter anymore. Smoke
uh
monster.
cool. I think that's
Poor
your turn
Sophie.
to
Jesus. Yeah, it
pull
is.
a card.
Poor Sophie. What a rough hand she was dealt.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I think this one feels good. Okay, okay. We have the King of Pentacles.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's very well, okay, so I want to point this out for me because I was noticing like just the color scheme contrast that is here. This very green, cool
Yeah.
color to this all yellows and blacks. Okay. The King of Whoa, no, don't all disappear. Bad desktop.
Oh no.
Uh it's like one of the gesture things where like the mouse goes to the side
Oh
and suddenly
yeah.
all the windows explode. And I never okay.
Yeah.
King of Pentacles. The fountain at the center of campus courtyard supposedly grants wishes, and a group of your friends
Ooh.
dared you to make one. They all made wishes as well, each tossing in a coin of pure silver. Your friends didn't notice, but you saw that all the reflections in the water had red eyes. Briefly, your reflections detached from your bodies and picked up the tossed coins. Your friends' reflections handed their coins to yours, and when you opened your real palm, you found the once tossed coins covered in blood. What did you wish for? What did you do with the coins?
Uh,
Okay, so and also just like making sure I'm parsing this correctly. Okay, so we all threw a coin in.
Yes.
Everyone else's reflections with red eyes grabbed the tossed coins and gave them to my reflection, and
Yes.
then suddenly I myself had, you know,
All the coins.
all the coins covered in blood, all of them being like 3. Lennox really doesn't have friends that would like that they'd let, that they would someone that they would let dare them to do anything,
Yeah.
you know? Um, wow, okay.
Ooh. This is such a Lennox prompt. I just have to say,
Yeah,
this is like so.
yeah, yeah, it's good. So, Lennox would
Oh, are
not.
you gonna pull a
Hmm.
major arcana card? Not to, not to cut
I'm
you
going
off.
to. I had no, good call.
Okay.
I'm going to. I'm curious. Oh, and I should put no, I'm gonna keep those out to write down the details about the student. Interesting. Okay. Um the Wheel of Fortune
Ooh, very
and
fitting.
something else reversed. Yeah. Okay. And that 10 is the Wheel of Fortune. Okay. There we go. The wheel reminds us of the ever falling, rising and falling rhythms of time. Urges us to remember the transient nature of all things. Nothing is forever, and we must take that into account with our planning.
Ooh.
Yeah, okay. There's much more language, but that seems to be the relevant points. So Lennox doesn't believe in wish granting. I think by now they know that that is either an extremely, extremely powerful reality altering magic that is probably expressly forbidden and really dangerous, and no one's done it in a long time, or it's just a superstition and a folk tale, and how it happens, sheer chance and coincidence. So they're not going to like waste, a wish on, I wish for the power to remake the world,
Mhm.
as they were seeking at the end of our second year from
Mhm.
the seeking gem. I think they like look around at everyone like tossing their coin, the 3 other people tossing their coin in, like sort of have just like the faintest hint of a sneer, and then as they just very cavalierly like flick a coin in and are thinking like, I just I wish that fucking Dr. Ghost would stop talking to me. Something like not even really realistic, but they're like, yeah, that might happen. I don't know.
That would
Um,
improve my life.
right? And I think as they flick the coin, there's the camera shot of the coin slow motion tumbling through the air. It hits the water ripples out, and we see the reflections of the other 3 people and a zoom in on their red eyes, and then the close up of Lennox's face just going, okay.
Ooh.
And then sort of watching all this happen and then feeling a wet metal weight in their hand and seeing these 4 bloody silver coins. Uh, there's like, guys, I don't think we should do that again. Um, I hope you didn't wish for anything like important. And
uh,
okay, what did I do with the coins?
yeah.
Jesus, Lennox b- puts them in a lead-lined box and buries them at midnight where no one knows.
Yeah, probably smart.
It's like the equivalent of that. They're like, this is like, again, real sympathetic magic could be really bad for us. This is probably our blood or something terrible, and whatever it is, I don't want anyone to have this thing that I touched and made a wish on. So they like, yeah, they spend a part of like, I don't know, magical crafting class. They're just in the back corner, like quietly building this little box that will have a lead lining and like rowan and ashwood or like magical barrier wood, and then start inscribing and inking sigils of like protection and preventing anyone from like scrying or seeing these things magically, seal them inside, and then at like again at like 3 in the morning go out into the woods somewhere and bury it at the foot of like a an oak tree, an old oak tree, but doing everything that they know how to do to be like, no one will ever find these or know that they exist if I can make it happen. And when their friends ask, Linda just goes, "Oh no, I threw them back in the fountain. You didn't see them? Huh. Well, that's weird. Maybe they disappeared."
So your
Just
friends
like
know that the coin thing happened, but you just are like
they're like, "Oh
they've
no, I
gone.
just like, oh, it was late. You didn't know. I threw them back in the fountain. Yeah, I heard
So
the splashes
creepy.
and everything, and then I looked and it looked like I don't know. I'm sure nothing will happen.
Nothing will come of this.
Doing their
Um
best to not let anyone know that they are actually very panicked about it.
yeah. This isn't in the prompt, but does the dream or not dream, does the wish come true about the ghost not bothering you
I
anymore?
was wondering that, and I'm interested. I think it doesn't.
Okay.
I think that whatever this fountain actually does is not wish granting, but they're like there are coins in there, like it's like whoever built it, whatever strange evil, maybe evil wizard built it a long time ago,
Yeah.
threw some coins in the way kind of have a couple dollars in your hat already if you're busking on the street because it makes people want to give
Mm,
you more.
right.
So I think the ghost still follows them, and by now they've just heard all of the ghost's horrible old time medicine stories, and they're like, well, all right.
This is my life.
This is my
Um
life. This ghost is gonna follow me.
I have to figure out how Aster witnessed or remembers this. Before I do that, though, I will really quickly say, Adamo sheep or Atamo sheep. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome in. And then also Mila, hello. Thank you so much for the resub. 40
Hello.
months. 40 months they've been subscribed to me. That's
Amazing.
that's wild. Hard to think
Rockin'.
about.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. Okay. I kind of like the idea. The fountain's at the center of the campus courtyard.
Hmm.
Um, so I kind of like the idea that maybe this is like kind of the middle of the day or like a time where there's just like a lot of students
Yeah.
around.
I
And
think there's
so
nothing supposedly sinister. They're like, hey, we heard that
yeah.
fountain grants wishes and we're at a magical school. Why not give it a try?
Yeah, like I'm imagining it's kind of like the quad where there's like people like outside like playing wizard frisbee and picnics and studying and like maybe even like a class is like outside. Um and so I think Aster and some of her friends are doing like a study group or something like outside. So there's like a blanket, there's like books kind of floating around and being passed around
Hmm.
between them. I think someone has like a magical projection of like their notes from the class that everyone can see and copy down, and they're all kind of like talking. Um, and I was gonna do this at the starters room and I forgot. So I'll just do it now, which is,
Hmm.
I think Aster when she started school was kind of more, her style has changed a lot, and I think especially like this
Hmm.
year it's changed a lot. Where when she was first here, if you saw her on the street, you'd probably just think like, oh yeah, that's like a normal girl. Like she dressed like pretty femininely, but had like kind of like a cutesy kind of style, I think. And I
Hmm.
think as she's been here, has been integrating more and more of like kind of a dark academia, witchy kind
Hmm.
of look.
Cool.
And so I think uh this year her hair's still kind of dark blonde. But she mostly dresses in black now. She wears like kind of more dramatic makeup, and like her friends are also like dressed like that. Like
Cool.
they're all very like witchy and like have like, crystal jewelry and those kinds of things. So she's with this group of other people who are kind of dressed similarly to her, and I think she looks over, sees that Lennox and their friends or sycophants are with them. And kind of is like keeping an eye on it and thinking like, oh, that's like seems so out of character, I guess, for Lennox to be doing something so like kind of fun and carefree of like tossing a coin into the fountain and making a wish. She just kind of is like keeping an eye on what's happening. Um and I think doesn't see the coin thing. Um but
I would say as you're watching, I think that
yeah.
moment is like you see Lennox just like look at their hand, it's maybe there's some, and then like pull out a like careful like handkerchief scrap of fabric and like really like almost holding the things at arm length, like wrap something up in it, and like like
Yeah.
you're holding a dog bag of your dog's poop, just like
It's just
quietly,
very
yeah, just like, I don't know if I want to touch this
I
even
really
through this
like
fabric.
that. I think the way, because this game, we haven't gotten into it too much, but this game does have an interesting thing where it's like how do people remember things differently, maybe, or like how does
Hmm.
this person see this thing? And I think because she's not paying the most attention, Aster sees this as like Lennox did something to their friends. Like there was
Mm.
some kind of ominous thing that happened, and then they like wrapped these whatever they were holding, I couldn't quite see, wrapped it up and were holding it, but there was like a little bit of blood on this handkerchief that I saw. And I think because of where I'm sitting, I see like the red eyes of the reflections for a moment, but it's kind of warped the way the water warps, so the eyes are
Hmm.
like bigger and redder. And so I think I don't say anything to you, I don't say anything to my friends, but I think I'm like, oh, that's how he has friends. Like he's controlling them or like doing something to them that is like
Uh-huh.
making these people his
Yep.
friends. So I think that's how Aster remembers it or
Uh-huh.
sees it, as like not just like a weird thing happened to Lennox, but like Lennox did something sinister.
Yep.
And
Yep.
just doesn't quite trust it.
That sounds accurate.
Okay. I have a card to pull for the last
Yeah.
prompt for year 3. And I pulled the 10 of Pentacles, which
Ooh,
is
okay.
the North Tower went on lockdown for a few weeks, requiring the evacuation of students and faculty. From outside the academy, you could see a rolling black mass pressed against the windows. For the duration, your shadow whispered to you, "Let's swim in the smoke." this is, this is so
Cheerful.
this is so bad. If you visited the North Shadow, what else did your shadow say when you arrived? If you didn't, how did your shadow punish you? Um, very cool.
Hmm.
I love this. This ties in so well with the shadows in the fountain and
Yeah.
the smoke
Yeah.
creature in the
Yeah.
mirror.
It's really good.
Okay, I have to pull a major arcana for this, and I pulled the devil. Uh,
Yep.
very
Yep.
interesting. Very
A lot of
interesting.
ghoul overlap and synchronicity here. Big
Um,
fan.
okay, so 10 of Pentacles and the devil. Also, Atama Sheep, we are playing a game called Tangled Blessings, which actually, let me, da, 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 which is linked in chat now. So if you want to check out more about it, you can play it as a single player game or as a 2-player game.
Yeah.
Which obviously we're playing it as a 2-player game. Okay. I am so, I have so many ideas of
Mm.
what this could be. Let me look at the meanings for the devil that's listed here. Obsession, conflict, violence, force, freedom. Okay. Um my first thought is that this has something to do with the coins. That this has something to do with the wish and the
Mm.
coins, because
Hmm.
it's like your shadow and those different things. Um, if you visited the North Tower, what else did your shadow say when you arrived? If you didn't, how did your shadow punish you? I think I can't imagine that Aster visited the North Tower if it was if it was evacuated. I just can't imagine that she went.
Lennox might, but no, I feel like Aster is also, I think, smart enough to be like, my shadow whispering to me is
Yeah.
maybe not a
Don't
good thing, and
follow
I shouldn't
that. Yeah.
listen.
I think a lot of things have come together where Aster is like, magic is dangerous. You follow the rules. You don't do weird stuff. You don't like really take chances. You just
Yeah,
kind of go with the flow and you follow what like people tell you to do.
yeah.
Um, so I definitely think she does not. Which means that my shadow punishes me. Um, okay. I feel like since it is my shadow, it must the punishment would be something that really is catered to Aster. Like it's a
Mm,
punishment that's really bad for her, especially because I got the devil, which has like
yeah.
those themes as well. Um, hmm, what would she hate?
I
Hmm.
mean, this year she seems to really hate Lennox, among
Yeah.
other things. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if, and I guess it's such an interestingly phrased prompt to me because it really is like, well, your shadow in this moment at least has agency
Yeah.
and some amount of control perhaps over you yourselves.
Yeah.
Can your shadow make you go have a conversation with Lennox? I don't know. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's it's again, I just like I appreciate so much the wording of so many of these prompts and how open-ended in that way they are. Like the thing that happened is described really well and pretty unambiguously, and then the
Yeah.
questions of it and like how you remember it are they're so meaty and so good.
Yeah.
I love it.
Um, I think because we've already had all this stuff with like dreams as well. Um, and I kind of think that the way that I'm punished by the shadow, because you're right, the thing that Aster doesn't like is Lennox.
I'm sure there's many more things. Like I'm really not just trying to make this shit about me,
No, but it
but it does
is.
occur to me.
um, so I think for the duration that this uh black mass is surrounding the North Tower, I think that Aster shares dreams with Lennox. Like every time Lennox
Whoa.
dreams, Aster is in that dream and has no control. Like it's not it's like lucid dreaming where she knows she's dreaming, she knows what's happening, but doesn't have any agency over it like you do in lucid dreaming. So like whatever Lennox is doing, that's where the dream is going. Like wherever, what
Wow, you're
Lennox
just like
Lennox like goes in one
along as a very
direction. Yeah.
unwilling passenger.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
shadow's mean.
Pretty mean. Pretty mean thing to do to someone. Also,
Yeah.
Atomic Sheep, thank you so much for the bits. Appreciate it.
Thank
Appreciate the bits.
you. Yeah.
So yeah, how does does Lennox notice that Aster is in the dreams? Um, or how do they remember
Well,
it? Like
I
what's
I
your
was
experience
gonna
with this?
say I think it's a good thing for Aster that Lennox doesn't sleep a lot. Like, forgets basic bodily functions because they're just like
Yeah.
studying and trying to do the magic and like thinking about, world domination, as it were,
Uh-huh.
in a abstract sense. Um, yeah, see this is because Lennox would absolutely go try to see what is going on if their shadow spoke to them. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think they I think at a certain point similar to the sleepwalking. They, the first time it happens, and they pass out in the library with their head in a book
Hmm.
and start dreaming about studying more, obviously. You know, they're like, "Well, this is weird. Usually when I dream about studying, the library's empty, but Aster's over there, or like a plant shaped like Aster. It's a little bit hard to tell." And just sort of like watching. That's
Yeah.
weird, and like doesn't think about it. And then as it happens for over and over, I think they Lennox chalks it up to the Speaking Gems prodigy bullshit for
Mm.
probably several nights. And then finally, I think would tr try to confront or interact with Aster in the dream.
Yeah.
And I don't know if in this case, your shadow would essentially let you do anything, or if I'm just like, "Huh, it's like I'm walking up to a three-dimensional image of this person I know who's
Ooh.
just in this spot in my dream for no reason."
Okay, I have an idea. This is up to you.
Okay.
It's really bad for Aster if in the dream, because she can't really control what she's doing. If in the dream, whatever she says or however she reacts, is Lennox still dreaming? Like, it's whatever she does, it's like she's like a puppet in this dream. I don't know if that's like too dark
I
for you or if
Well,
you're
so I
interested in
wanna I
that,
wanna
but
go I wanna go one step further with that, and I think it is the shadow is directly in control. And
yeah.
and, like, might know, whatever conversation is happening, like, the shadow knows how to say the thing that internal Aster is screaming about and, like, would never actually say.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very creepy and scary. That's so good.
And
Uh
I
yeah.
don't think Lennox actually notices anything wrong, so to speak,
Mhm.
because as this conversation happens, and like, "That's not what Aster would say if I, asked her." I don't know. Looking ahead from it, if I asked Aster to the alumni dance with me at the end of third year, she would absolutely not have an enthusiastic response, you know.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or if I asked Aster, to help to collaborate on a project again, and she enthusiastically said yes. I'm like, well, it's a dream. And
Yeah.
I'm only dreaming about this because this is the other most talented person in the school, and we should absolutely do this project together.
Yeah.
No conception, I think, that something is like wrong.
Yeah. What is there anything that Lennox does ask like specifically? Do you have anything that like, because this is an interesting thing that if the shadow is basically making Aster
Yeah.
say whatever she actually feels or
Yeah.
thinks, then is
Yeah.
there anything that Lennox would ask that would be an interesting answer, even though they don't know that that's what's happening?
I I think they would, there's this sense of, well, I'll never get to really ask this question in the real world, and I might as well see what my subconscious is telling me about this. Aster, do you really dislike me? Was the project thing our first year just like really, like, have I done something else to offend you or piss you off? You
Oh,
seem
that's
really
so
like mean this year.
um I think it seems like Aster is struggling for a minute, and then what she says is, I like you, and I'm scared that I like you, and I don't want to like you.
I do think Lennox just, like, takes a step back and thinks for a moment and just, "Do you wanna go to the alumni dance with me?"
So crazy.
In a
um,
dream,
yeah.
talking to your shadow, still gonna, like, why not?
Yeah, I'm trying to think because I don't, if the shadow is making Aster say what she actually would want, I don't think she wants to go to the dance with Lennox because it's like this is like I don't want to even if I
Yeah.
think I might like you or like don't really know my feelings towards you. Um but but also this shadow is punishing me. So I think Aster says yes. I think there is another like struggle, and Aster like agrees to go, but Lennox doesn't know that this is real.
No,
Like you
I
don't
think
know
they're
that
just
this
like,
isn't just a
cool,
dream.
I'm dreaming. And like, and then wanders off into the strange forest scape of their dreams about life back home in the backwoods of, again, definitely not where they say they're from,
Yeah.
Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so funny. Um so I think Aster is like bullet dodge that Lennox doesn't
Yeah.
think that this is real or that we're actually going to this dance.
I no,
Uh
I think Lennox is aware that this is dreams and yeah, it's just like, okay, cool. Let me see. At least it's not the one with like the giant, teeth wearing shoes or whatever. Like,
yeah, right. Oh, that's so funny. I think that is the last prompt for the year, which does bring us to the
yeah,
masquerade ball.
it does
Um,
indeed.
which is kind of scary. This year closed out with the alumni hosted Masquerade Ball, a 6-hour formal event celebrating the achievements of Brackroot's graduates. It was your chance to network, party, and fully embrace the magical world that could await you. Who did you attend the ball with? Who did you dance with? Who was escorted out? Who did you bury to get here? Who was found murdered in the hall? And I think the other one says, who did you hurt?
I think so. That one's very hard to read.
Yeah.
Hidden in the upper corner.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, also I want to give you a chance too, because I described what Aster looks like a little bit. So I want to give you a
Yeah.
chance to describe what Lennox looks like.
Oh my God, Atomic Sheep. So much teenage embarrassment. So much. No idea.
Yeah.
Um, if Linux changed, I think it's that they basically acquired slightly nicer versions of their clothes. They arrived at school kind of coming from very little, in spite of their lies about a tech billionaire father or parent. I don't remember if I specified. And they're like kind of straddling the line between gutter punk and burner in this way of
Yeah.
like definitely, accessories and layers and slightly unusually, like, I think they go for color. I think they go for, like, matching or complementary colors, mostly in warmer palettes, or warmer earth tones and some black. So it'll be like, black and gray and red and orange and yellow and brown. And any given day, there's, like, a different sort of assemblage of many items that they have pieced together into an outfit. And so yeah, I think just they probably still have some of the same clothes from first year,
Mhm.
but by the end of third year, they've also just like now they have some resources, either magical, magical means to go and steal in the real world, or magical money to like, you know, go to the magical tailor, or I can't
Mhm.
remember exactly like the surroundings of the academy and if there's a
Yeah.
clothes shop or they definitely go thrift store shopping too. They're like kind of not an expert, but like they love finding a good deal.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that's Linux. They've got more things. The variety has changed, and they've got a couple nicer things. They've like branched out into the actual leather instead of like fake, garbage leather found at the thrift store, accessories and things.
Yeah.
And so for the dance,
Mhm.
they're wearing kind of what they would consider their nicest, which is like um, they have assembled something that resembles a formal suit, a formal formal wear, but again with a couple more layers and accessories, so it just has some flair and some
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
better style than our, real world heteronormative male formal style, which by and large is kind of boring. They've elaborated a little bit on that.
Yeah. I think that um Aster for the dance is kind of channeling the Sabrina the Teenage Witch remake, like the kind of
Mm.
more like
Hmm.
dark vibes of
Yeah.
that, and then also
Yeah.
like the second half of Lisa Frankenstein. I think where she's
Cute.
wearing like kind of
Real
like
cute.
goth, yeah, like some tattered lace and things like that is the vibe for the masquerade ball. And has like, isn't dressed as like a specific thing for the masquerade ball, but
Hmm.
does have like a little mask on.
Yeah.
Um, who
Yeah.
is Lennox? Is Lennox going to the ball with anyone?
I I think Lennox did, in fact, it took them probably until like 2 days before to actually have the courage to do this in the real world, but I think they
Hmm.
went to ask Aster.
Oh, this is this sucks for
I
Lennox.
Yeah, no, totally. But so over the 3 years, and Lennox hasn't necessarily forgotten the one time in the library, the first time that Lennox and Aster actually like sort of connected and talked,
Hmm.
and the thing they convinced themselves was a calculated gesture to kiss the back of her hand.
Hmm.
And a year and a half later, however, I can't remember if that was first year or second year.
I think
I
that
think that was
was
second year.
second year, yeah, because that was when we called
Yes.
the truce. Was the second year, yeah.
Yes. So in the like year that it's been, as they've thought about it, I think they're like, I still don't know. This
Hmm.
person is the only other person at this school that matches my abilities, really. I know that I'm better than everyone else here. The teachers all told me that, but they also told this person that she was better than everyone else here except me. And they're I think Lennox is making a decision to attempt to lean into that kinship
Hmm.
that they feel a little bit, and they do, I think, they like Aster at the very least as a person, which is rare.
Hmm.
Be Lennox is
Yeah.
mostly like people kind of suck and they're stupid. Um, and at the very least, they're like, even though we're in different houses in this thing, I whatever's going on this year with them, even if we just go as friends, and even if this is a terrible idea, I think I need to ask. And they psych themselves up for a full like 4 days, and like only in the last 48 hours before the ball or before the masquerade are they actually ready to like find Aster and ask her to the dance.
Um, when you do, Aster has kind of a genuinely pity kind of expression as you're asking,
Mm,
and says, "I'm I'm already going with I'm going with someone. I'm going with Declan, who I pulled a student. Declan is a third year who is also I pulled House of Spires, so is
wow.
someone you actually know."
I Lennox just kind of with Declan. Well, I hope you guys have a good time. And just like runs away.
Yeah.
I and when he gets around a corner, just like stops and leans against the wall and like waits for his heart rate to slow down a little bit and is like, okay, okay, okay. So it wasn't anything. If she doesn't like me, it's fine. Great. Just whatever that dream, man. That dream I shouldn't have listened to that dream.
Never trust a dream.
Never. So I think in the end they the same couple legit actual friends that threw coins in the wishing well, Lennox shows up with these people to the
Yeah.
ball.
Yeah, Aster shows up with Declan Dyer, who, according to this generator, wrote a book.
Amazing.
So maybe I
Okay.
imagine something of the same, like about plants or about tea or something as like, they have a shared interest.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so
Cute.
um, then so we know who we're going with. Who did you dance with? Did Lennox dance with anybody? I think Aster pretty much just dances with Declan.
Yeah. Lennox, I think, would not unless someone else asked them to. I don't think
Mm.
they're a dancer. I think they more it is networking. It is a professional event in some sense,
Yeah.
especially since the alumni are there. I think Lennox goes around trying to talk to people, find out what they're doing out in the world after graduation. Definitely tries to find previous prodigies. Like if they
Ooh,
I'm
yeah.
trying to remember if it's implied that this is sort of a cyclical thing at the academy or not.
I think it
Um,
is implied that it is. We can certainly, if it's not, we can make it
yeah,
that
I mean,
way.
yeah, if we want to say that it is, I'm into it. And I think Lennox would try to find a previous prodigy to connect and again in the sense of like, look, no one else at this school besides the person that said no when I asked them to the dance really gets what I'm going through at all, and I can't really talk to them. But if there's another alumni, an alumna
Yeah.
who was this, then I can talk to them, and maybe I can get a leg up and learn what the end of the school rivalry duel thing is supposed to be. Um,
Yeah.
and also just keep their usual kind of watching who's with whom and like what little bits of social interaction gossip they can ferret out.
Yeah.
And
Um
and definitely watching Declan and Aster a little bit more than is probably casual.
yeah, Aster is pointedly not paying attention to Lennox at all, really
Yep.
at any part of the ball, unless it would be rude not to. Like if it's like they end up in the same like
Yeah.
conversation or something. It's not
Yeah.
like the silent treatment, but it is like I am
Yeah.
not I can tell that someone is watching me. I am not looking at them. um
Yeah. I'm not
I'm
here for yeah.
very enamored with my date and hoping that Lennox does not figure out that the dream thing was in some way real. Um, so,
Yeah.
yeah, do you think, what does Lennox glean? Like, does Lennox get any, like, insight into, like, what this duel is gonna be, what the position is? Like, what do you think for, like, as far as, like, mingling and using as, like, a networking event?
I man. They're sussing out anyone who might be like-minded. Um,
Mm,
so as they I think they honestly avoid groups of students and kind of steer towards groups of alumni and trying to engage in the, what do you do out in the world? Oh, you learn so much here, isn't it? Isn't it a bit of a shame that we have to, and like, oh,
mm-hmm.
we you ever thought about how we could use the things we've learned to make the world a better place? Isn't that on some level what the founders of the academy and the speaking gym would want us to do? Just to see who, if anyone, is sympathetic to this, the revolution they want to start, essentially, of
Ooh,
bringing magic to the world.
yeah. Okay, so one of the questions is who was escorted out? Um, and I kind of like this idea that maybe Lennox does find someone who is
Hmm.
like, yeah, like maybe like it's like the kind of thing where Lennox is like talking about this to people and this person overhears and is kind of like, "Oh, hey, come over here."
Yeah.
Um, and I think says like there are people like you who want to help use our powers to help the kind of mundane world, and it's like frowned upon, um but there are people who are doing that, um and I think during the conversation, I think they're kind of like, we have, members of this group, like all kinds of
Yeah.
different wizards and magic users and things like that. And if you can if you're going to be like the person who wins this rivalry, we can smuggle in resources for you. We can like make sure this
Mm,
happens, that
mm-hmm,
you're going
mm-hmm.
to succeed instead of this other person that's your rival. And I think during that conversation that's kind of cut short by some, maybe muscle of Brackroot Academy who are kind of like, hey, we want to talk to you. Not to Lennox, but to this other person that kind of
Yeah,
like pull
yeah.
them out and say
Like
like,
talking a little bit too loud about stuff you really shouldn't be.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
yeah, that person gets escorted out.
yeah, yeah. I
Uh
I
yeah.
mean, did Aster or did either of us bury someone to get here? I
That's what
think that
I'm
is a
trying to
really
think
I
of.
I well, to me this is it's I appreciate this is it's a storytelling opportunity and
Mhm.
that classically in popular culture and literature and things, the masquerade ball is absolutely when, you might be prevented from going unless you are willing to sacrifice or compromise your morals
Yeah.
or
Ooh,
attack
yeah.
someone, or someone was absolutely like murdered at the ball. I
Yeah.
I don't know that either of us had to bury anyone to get there. Like Lennox had to bury his pride after getting rejected.
Yeah, and I guess you could say
You
Aster
know,
kind of buried Lennox.
a little bit, little bit. Yeah, metaphorical burying rather than
Yeah.
literal, but yeah. Um, yeah, I think for us that's the case,
Yeah.
Sophie also might have had to bury someone literally to get into the ball, like, we don't know.
Well, I did
Um,
have an idea of who was found murdered,
yeah,
which I do
yes,
think might be Sophie. Like,
okay.
this
Yeah.
might be, you stuck around and you weren't supposed to
Yeah.
be here and something happens. If you have a different pitch, though, I'm happy to hear it.
Oh, I'm super. No, I'm really into that. We create these little characters. We got to like keep them on screen until they get murdered.
And so, yeah, until they get murdered
Um,
on screen.
on screen. I Yeah, and I love the idea that it's one of the thing maybe it like one person notices it's in like an out of the way spot in the restroom somewhere and
Yeah.
doesn't really want to say anything about it, but then just slowly enough people notice that like at a certain point they have to stop everything and turn on the lights and be like, okay guys, one of our students was dead, we know this happens every year, but like we really got to address it, everyone stay still, don't move, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It probably does
Yeah.
happen. Like, the school attrition rate by death is probably a solid 5% of the class every year, you know?
Yeah. For sure. I mean, I think the cover of the book says "Welcome to the Cursed Academy." So
Yeah. Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
makes sense.
if you're at a cursed academy,
Yeah.
then that probably does happen. Also, for clarification, because I think somebody mentioned like teenage embarrassment, we are technically in our 20s. So for anyone who is like, oh, kids are getting killed, it is, we are adults.
I mean, 20-somethings is kinda kids, depending on your perspective,
Yeah,
but yeah.
it is kind of kids.
Um,
Um,
I
yeah,
and I wanna add to this, if I may. Tell me if
yeah.
how this strikes to you. I think, uh, Sophie was killed by another student, someone who was really in that "you don't belong here" camp,
Oh, yeah.
and whoever it was did their best to make it look like one of the various magical defenses of the school gone wrong.
Ooh, I really like that. Because I was thinking like it's one of the magical defenses of the school, but it's much more interesting if it is a student.
Even if Aster and Lennox never solve it, even if the administrators just kind of like quietly sweep it under the rug, I think
Yeah,
it makes the school and the student body a more interesting place when someone really would do something like that.
yeah,
And seems in character with the world with the rest of the prompts that we have.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, um, yeah.
Oof, poor Sophie.
Poor Sophie
Just
didn't
wanted to
have a
learn some
chance.
magic and ended up half petrified with too much Botox and then dead.
Yeah. Our last question for this masquerade ball is who did you hurt?
Well, I mean, did Aster hurt anyone besides Lennox?
I think No, I don't think anyone
Yeah.
besides Lennox. But I also think because Lennox is like keeping an eye on Aster so much during the ball, I think Aster specifically, like, there's a moment where like Lennox sees like her and Declan like kissing. Like it's
Mm.
like she's
Mm-hmm.
positioning as like, oh, we like snuck away a little bit, but it's like still clearly someplace that like Lennox would be able to see.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
is like a like I'm not in like it, it's like
It is
she
declarative and
yeah, it's
performative.
like
It's not. It's
I
not even
don't
really
like
for
you.
Declan.
I'm dating someone now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and I think like is doing it. I don't know how into Declan she actually is. Like I think it's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, this is like, but it's
No, this is
not a
nice. This is
coincidence
fine.
that it's like someone that Lennox knows. It's
Yeah.
like not a coincidence
Yeah.
that it's someone that's in your house. Yeah.
Man, we're really like if Lennox gets something that makes him a little more empathetic, like we're really gonna reverse by the end of year 4. Um,
Yeah.
I like that. I like it a lot. I think Lennox if I think Lennox inadvertently hurt someone, someone in the school probably has a crush on them and probably asked them
Mm.
to dance, and they were just like
Oh no.
looking directly at Aster and Declan and were like, "No, I'm busy,"
Oh,
and just like
can,
didn't really even. Mm,
can I say something that's going to hurt?
yeah.
Is it Sophie that asked you to dance?
Oh fuck. I think it is. Yeah. Yeah, it was Sophie, and Lennox doesn't even really process who it was.
Yeah.
I think it Lennox is just, nursing a thing of punch or whatever, and in this moment in between trying to network is just watching Declan and Aster on the dance floor or whatever, kind of feels someone come up next to them and like the really hesitant like, do you want to dance or and without thinking about it, just like, no, I'm busy. And it takes like a full several seconds to like the actual sound processing to go, wait a minute, that was Sophie. Oh shit. And by the time Lennox looks around, she's gone.
Yeah.
And the next time he sees her, she's dead.
Yeah.
Oh, oh. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But I again shoving him like with continuous little cattle prod pokes in the direction of empathy because he feels really fucking bad about it. I don't
Yeah.
he doesn't feel like he is responsible. It's not like,
Mm.
oh, if only I'd said yes, because I think he's just rational enough to know,
Yeah.
but still it's like the last time I saw this person who I actually on some level agree with and empathize with
Yeah.
and admire for their tenaciousness. The
Yeah.
last thing I said to them was a really casual, offhanded dismissal of them doing the thing that I did to Aster that took a lot of guts and courage.
Yeah.
And
Ugh.
now I'm seeing them looking, and I think whether or not it's obvious, Lennox is like, someone killed her. It wasn't the
Yeah.
school. It wasn't whatever. It wasn't the magical defenses of the bathroom. It was someone
Yeah, someone
killing
did
her,
this. Damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn, damn, damn. Well, that is horrible. But it
On
also
that note,
it's a good time for us to take our break.
yeah.
So we'll take 8 to 10 minutes to get a drink, get a snack, all of that good stuff, take a little bio break. So we will be back on stream in, like I said, about 8 to 10 minutes. While we
Sounds
are
good.
on break, you can check out Colin, all the other places you can find them. You can also check out this game, so you can get it for yourself. And there'll also be some stuff on screen of more info on Colin, and then also a stream that I have coming
Yeah.
up, some info on that.
Thank
So,
you. And
yeah,
I would just say, Atama Sheep, like, you feel bad for Lennox if you want, but like Lennox was a much worse person our whole first 2 years.
yeah.
He may or may not actually deserve your sympathy. I'm just saying.
Yeah, Lennox, you're catching the more sympathetic side of Lennox,
Yeah.
but I like
Well, it's
that.
gonna
I
be
feel
year
like both of
4. I'm
these.
gonna lean into it.
Yeah, both
Yeah.
these characters are very a lot to root for and a lot to dislike, I think, which I love.
Yes. Yeah. They're doing great.
Cool. So we're
Anyway.
gonna go on break. We'll see you all in a little bit. Bye. Felicitations Adventures are back with the second half of our game of Tangled Blessings, a game that we're calling Brackish Rivals. If you want to check the game out for yourself, you can see it in chat right now. And then also, I'll mention this coming back from the break. We do have a tip incentive, which is for 300 bits or for $3. You can tell us a tarot card of your choice to influence our prompt. Either you can give us, right now we're in swords, so you can give us a number from swords to influence which prompt we get, or once we get the prompt, you can tell us a major arcana card to determine kind of the flavor of what happens during that scene. So you can either use Twitch bits, or there's a link to my Ko-fi, and any tips during the stream are going to Colin, so it's a good cause.
I like to
um,
think so.
yeah. So because we're all already, had to ask Colin if they didn't mind sticking around a little bit later than the stream was supposed to go, because we really just dig into these prompts. This is what happened last time too. We'll jump right back into it. So for the first 2 years, we had our motivations for why we wanted to better or best each other, I should say. So the motivations for Aster for year 1 and year 2 were she thinks of herself as the main character. So of course she should win this rivalry and get whatever it is that you get when you are the the top wizard. That shifted slightly in year 2, where her motivation was that she is pure of heart and Lennox is not. And so Lennox, she doesn't think deserves this honor, whereas she does. Um, what were Lennox's motivations, just so for people who didn't miss the first half?
Yeah.
What was that?
Arriving at the academy, Lennox was focused on being the best. They had been told they were a prodigy. They had been, picked off of, not really picked off the street, but like almost. And they wanted to be the best and get all the things that would come to them for winning this duel at the end of the year. And after getting to know Aster a little bit, and after learning more about what this world was about, by the end of that year, by year 2, whenever we kind of made that split, their motivation had changed to what in my note says break the system.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be the best. They want to acquire this magic and win the duel so they can magically correct what they feel are the mistakes of the main world, mundane world, the plain world, I think
Mm-hmm.
is the language we use in this game. Um, and it's that is expanded, like we were saying, to include the school. If the school thinks that Sophie shouldn't have been there, fuck them. That's wrong, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, still selfish, but like marginally more altruistic.
Fuck the system, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
I deserve this so I can tear the system down from from
Yes.
within.
Yes. And it must be me. I'm the one who's going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Aster's, I think, has changed as well. Um I think it's still this main character energy. I think that's what's motivating her thinking this. But I think the motivation for her is that she deserves it. She's
Mm.
becoming more a part of this world. She's giving up. Like, I think she's now viewing the fact that she kind of, like, ran away from home, maybe kind of faked her own death. At the time, that was kind of like, this would be cool to do. I think she's
Mhm.
kind of editing her own mythology about herself to be like, I gave up my previous life to be here, and
Mm. Yeah.
I'm dedicated to, like, Brackroot, and I'm dedicated to, like, doing the things that I'm supposed to do and rising through the ranks the way that I'm supposed to do it. And so I think she just feels very deserving of winning this honor. And doesn't really think that Lennox does, because Lennox is like breaking so many rules and has so much contempt for this world and for the systems in it. So I think that is just the motivation, is that she thinks she deserves it
Hmm.
more.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I no, I love this. This is like to me, this feels like a really natural continuation of the growth of Aster's character that we're already been going through.
Yeah.
Lennox, to me, Lennox is holding to this second thing, is holding to more power, more magic lets me break the system.
Hmm.
It's not that I want to break all the rules, it's that the rules should be rewritten,
Yeah.
and this might let me do that.
Hmm.
But now, especially after the masquerade, there's a petty undercurrent again. Uh,
Hmm.
not even necessarily so much self as just like, I want to beat Aster.
Yeah.
I want to. I don't know if it's full. I want to humiliate her the way I felt humiliated when she said no, and then at the dance. But it's definitely, it will be more meaningful. Victory will be sweeter
Yeah.
since it's Aster, and since we have this history in this relationship. But
Yeah.
definitely, yeah, I don't think the larger picture has changed much for them. Um, there still wants to break the things and make things better. For whom is a valid question.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
really like that. So we're entering into year 4, which is swords.
Mhm.
The description for year 4 says the academy was different when you started your 4th year, seemingly harsher and colder. The recent death left a layer of gloom on all activity. And you get to draw first.
Okay. All right. Drawing from swords. Let's see. You. Okay. Okay. Let's see. I have drawn the Page of Swords. Very nice, evocative illustration. Where is that? Okay. The Page of Swords. You remember sitting under a tree, enjoying a rare, nice day of weather. You had a view of the entire valley below the mountains from that spot. You were studying for one of your classes when something from the valley flickered in your vision. When you finally turned to look, you saw a group of mages holding swords to the sky as a dark portal opened above them. Suddenly, a bright light flashed across the land, forcing you to close your eyes. When you looked again, the mages and the portal were gone, but the book you were reading had a new page. What did the page say? Did you see a vision of the past, a glimpse into the future, or a warning? Wow. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Nope. I'm gonna pull for an inspiration because I'm not entirely sure. There's a couple different options.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, vision of a group of mages holding swords to the sky in a dark portal, and then the book had an. All right. This one. Well, I'm not sure what to glean from that, but the world is my
Oh.
inspiration for this. So
That image is like kind of eerily, like what
it's
the card looks like is
the
kind of evocative
yeah,
of the prompt.
yeah, and I appreciate that a lot. Hmm. Okay. Lennox by this point is studying advanced manipulation. They still maintain that the secrets, the things that will get them what they want in the world is this ability to magically manipulate people and things to sway the course of events. So they're studying some advanced techniques for this. I think the new page in the book is the spell that they were looking for at the rotunda at the end of the second year. It is, it
Ooh.
is suddenly this book, a new page in the very back has someone discovered the way to magically manipulate a mass of people, but it requires a group of people to participate in a ritual spell with you. So you need to have like time, privacy, a group, and I think the cost of it is that depending on how many people you're trying to influence, 1 to 3 of the mages working this magic sacrifice their life force as well as their magical well of energy
Yeah.
to complete it. And I think this is a warning. I think this is it's a possible future because
Yeah.
Lennox is still pursuing this magic, but the vision is a warning of how badly it could go, and that this magic that does exist has immense costs.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. Okay. Hmm. Um, what happens to the page? Because is this a book that Lennox owns? Is this a book that you're borrowing? Like,
This
what
it's a
happens?
it's a library book. This is like or well, do you think that like in the same way that colleges and college textbooks are a massive money-making scam because
Yeah.
you have to buy them every
Yeah, that
goddamn
we have to
time,
buy.
like, does the Magical Academy have the same scam? Have we been buying our books every year and then going, "I'm never gonna fucking read beginning potion making
Yeah.
ever again"?
Maybe I kind of like the idea that in the first few years, no, but
Uh-huh.
then as you get into more advanced classes, it's like the professors and stuff are like, well, you're gonna want to have this book,
Yeah.
like you're gonna
Yeah.
want to have it to reference, or it has
Yeah.
like aspects that you need, so you have to buy your own copy. So maybe
So
like this year or the year before, we had to start
yeah,
buying our own
yeah.
books.
So this and I think that's why Lennox doesn't immediately, like, tear the page out and burn it or something,
Yeah, yeah,
is like,
yeah,
this is my book, and somehow I have acquired this extra page and this spell that is deeply dangerous, and I understand how dangerous it is, but I still might wanna have access to it someday.
yeah. Ooh,
So it's yeah,
okay.
it's in his book. Um,
I'm trying to think of
hmm.
how Aster would have any memory of this or be like involved at all because the rivals always
Yeah.
are. But
I mean
this feels like something that you saw that wasn't really actually happening. Like it was a vision.
mhm,
So I don't think Aster would have
mhm.
seen anything. There's a part of me that thinks about like maybe like Aster finding the book or seeing the book, especially since I'm dating
Mhm.
someone that's in your same dorm.
I th Oh, okay. Here's a pitch. I
Mm.
think forgetting for a moment that you and Declan are at least friends, maybe dating, we don't undecided at this point, you have not said so. I think
Mhm.
Lennox forgets that for a moment, and when Declan is like, "Oh, hey, can I borrow your advanced manipulation book for a minute? Like, I left mine in class. It's like
Oh, yeah,
18
yeah, yeah.
stories down. Like, come on." Uh, Lennox just like, "Yeah, sure," and kinda tosses over the book carelessly, and so Declan, in studying, finds this page and is like,
Yeah.
"I don't remember that being in my book," and then and maybe asked her in conversation or at a meal, Declan is like, "Oh, hey, that guy has this, like" I was borrowed his book. There was this really weird, like, super advanced, hella fucking dangerous spell in there for some reason about mass manipulation.
I think adding to that, you can say no to this. How
Okay.
would you feel if Declan and Aster were studying together? Declan stumbles across this page while Aster is there.
Mhm.
Aster tears the page out and keeps it to keep it from Lennox. How does that hit you?
That rings very true to these characters. Um, I think, yes, and Lennox would notice. And
For
do
sure.
do you think Declan has any reason to be like, oh no, I don't know, my familiar ate it. I'm sorry, I have a familiar, like a little
Yeah.
miniature, a tiny baby goat familiar. Sometimes it eats parts of books.
I think if so, maybe Declan tries to lie about it, but I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people who lie a lot are good at telling when other people are lying, and I don't think Declan is that good of a liar.
Yeah.
So I think you can can clock like, okay, I think Aster has this thing.
Uh-huh. And I'm just gonna, Lennox in this moment gives Declan like, okay, sure, buddy. We live together. I'm not gonna rock this boat too much. And then, a little while later, when he's like, make sure that Declan is Declan a jock? Is Declan playing Wizard Frisbee?
I do like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
When Declan goes to play the intramural Wizard Frisbee, I go to find you,
Yeah.
and I think pretty much directly walk up, if you're hanging out with friends, it was like, can you give us a minute? This is private. Where's the
Yeah.
spell?
What
Just
spell?
flat out, no, like,
I
no
try to
preamble.
lie. What spell?
Uh-huh. Great. Thanks. So it was you and Declan.
You shouldn't have it. I don't even. It's not even in
Look,
that book.
I I know it's not in the book. That's why I was keeping it for research and try to figure out how it got there. Okay, look, weird shit happens. Yes. Weird shit
Yes.
has happened to both of us,
Yes.
frequently in connection to each other. Further weird. And in the spirit of weirdness, we had it was finally nice the other day, and so I went and sat, that spot where you can like really get a good view of the whole valley. I was lucky enough to get there before too many people were there, and I was studying. I like thought I saw something, and I looked up, and I saw what I can only say was like another weird magical vision of people, I think, acting out this ritual. And then there was like a big flash of light. I couldn't see anything. When I looked, the vision was gone, and the page was here in the book. I I didn't create it. I don't know where it came from, but I want to know where it came from. This
Are
is
you gonna
supposed to be
use it?
impossible. What?
Are you gonna use it? This is like a fucked up thing to do.
Probably not. But it's also a useful thing to know. And I wouldn't the way it's written, there's no way to have people not understand the consequences of doing this. So it's not like I could trick people into doing it and tell them the result is not as it
That's not
is.
even what I'm talking about. The sacrifice thing. Saying what the spell does is fucked up.
Oh, is it okay? All right. Is it more or less fucked up than Sophie being murdered?
How am I supposed to? What is that? That's there's no correlation between those two things.
Of course it is. How do you someone who thought she didn't belong here killed her?
The school killed her.
Okay, even if I accept that the school is well, actually a magical academy after several hundred years could be sentient. Look, if I were to ever use something like this, it would be to make the world a better place. It would be to convince people that they should talk to each other instead of screaming online behind a wall of ones and zeros in anonymity. It would be to convince a group of billionaires that they should not have that much money. It would be to convince the school administration here that anyone deserves at least the chance to be here, regardless of where they come from. That's the minds that I want to change.
I'm gonna give you the spell back. Not because
Thank
I
you.
think you should have it, but because I'm tired of talking to you about this. And I like reach into my bag and I hand back the piece of like ripped out of the book.
Just like take it back. I feel like the school has been very different to both of us, Aster. I don't know how to put it otherwise. When I met you, I feel like you were incapable of tearing anything out of any book.
I don't even know how I'm supposed to take that, but yeah, of course we're different. That's the whole point of being here is to change and learn and grow and like talking to you about this stuff is really confusing because you always sound like you're making sense even when I know you're not. So that's I'm not trying to be mean. It's just confusing to talk to you.
Well, maybe I do actually make sense.
Or maybe you're using your weird little mind magic to try to manipulate me.
You We've all at this point, I think, been taught at least the basics of how to one, tell if someone's doing that, and two, maybe stop them. I mean, I've been working on psychic defense since first year. Have you not?
I have, but also not everybody else who goes here is a prodigy. So, forgive me for thinking you might have
I know
ways around it.
that's fair. I know you don't believe me, but I in this moment would swear to you that I am not using any magic. I wanted that spell back. And you're one of the few people that I would actually say why I want it back. Take from that whatever you will. And I at that point I think just like turn
Just
turn
leave.
around and like slowly like not book it out of there. Like if Aster had a comeback or
Yeah.
rejoinder, he would probably turn around, but just like he thinks he's made his point.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Aster does have a rejoinder or comeback, so I think it just doesn't feel good that you have the spell, but also didn't feel good stealing it from you,
Yeah.
so it's kind of
Yeah.
like, okay, well, that, went as best as I could imagine it could have gone.
Yeah.
Okay, I will pull my card, which is the Ten of Swords. You and your rival found
Hmm.
each other in the library. They invited you over to a chess set and took the first move, even if you didn't join them. You could tell they had something they wished to discuss with you privately. Did you hear what they had to say playing the game, or did you leave them alone? What rumors swirled across campus regarding this encounter? This is
Wow.
so good.
Wow. Uh-huh.
Let me
Honestly,
draw a major arcana.
I was hoping someone would do that.
Um, Okay, so, and the card that I pulled for this is the star. So let me see, 10 of Pentacles, the star, which is, uh, ooh, doubt, loss, hope, despair, and renewal are the themes for the star. This is so interesting given that we did just have like like a private, like kind of heart-to-heart discussion.
Hmm.
Um, so I think I definitely do hear out what you have to say and play the game.
Hmm.
Um, so what since we're playing the two-player version and I'm not also
Yeah.
playing the rival,
Yeah. Yeah,
what
right?
are you calling me here to talk about? Like what is like why do you want to play this game of chess against me?
I So Lennox, as is their wont, is studying late in the library at some
Mhm.
point. I think, I think after the spell, they made a conscious choice to like not not only study the manipulation magic, like not spend all of their free time on it, but trying to like, okay, maybe there was a point there. Why didn't I just shift my focus a little bit uh and they're not going into like the nature magic and the things that I think that Aster
Mm.
is better at and they're but I think they're remembering uh they're remembering how useful sort of destructive magic can be and are like learning a little more like flame manipulation, so studying
Mm,
some
yeah.
things like that. um but yeah, I think that they're still like thinking about the fact that the spell was stolen. So uh Lennox, looks up, sees Aster and waves over and I think has just like drawn up near a chess set. Um yeah, and as the game gets going after first 4 or 5 moves, kind of looks up and says, "Aster, do you mind if I ask you something? While we're playing."
You can ask.
Of course. Do you do you think this school is a good place?
No. I don't think it's a bad place. I
But
think it's neutral.
but okay. Should it be good or should it try to do good? I know we've talked about similar things a couple of times, but it really, if we accept that the school did that to Sophie, if we accept that the school or the speaking gem or the two in concert send out the invitations, is there an obligation to do better, or to try to make the people that come here better? We're teaching. Look at the first years. They still have more power than most people in the world will ever have, and we're not really teaching them, I don't know, ethics, responsibility.
There's an ethics elective.
It's the only unattended class every year. No one was
Nobody
it.
goes
It's
to it.
no. You sign up and you have a free period. I Yeah. So, but do you think it should be mandatory? Shouldn't 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 we come here and have to learn how to responsibly, I don't know.
I mean, I think we are learning how to responsibly use magic. I just don't. You don't really seem to care about the safeguards that we're being taught. Like, I don't think the school can do different than what it's doing because the school is made up of the people
We're
who are here.
we're being taught things that we're then never supposed to use except in very careful and small and controlled circumstances. We're learning things that could alleviate hunger and poverty, and we can't can't
Can.
use them. Well, if you follow the rules as they are written, we can't. We are extremely limited in our ability to help people when our actual ability to help people is so large.
Well, that's because regular people don't like magic. I mean, I don't know if you've had to take any of the like history classes, but like stuff happens when people think that someone's a witch.
I mean, I remember that from my own, from
Just regular
school. Like we cover
regular
well,
high
I mean,
school.
it was really weird learning that there was one actual Salem witch and it was not anyone who was burned. Nice to see that perspective. No, I look, yes, but times are different,
They're not that
right?
different.
There hasn't been an attempt in so long, and who's to say anyone would find out? Okay, hypothetical. What if we figured out a spell to remove greenhouse gases from the atmosphere, to like break them apart faster into their component atoms, and no one would notice. No one would know. The scientists measuring the atmospheric content would have some very weird unexplained phenomena, and it would be weird and unexplained, and no one would know.
But no one's stopping you from doing that. You could do that. And you don't even know, Lennox, like, you don't even know how many bad things are being avoided because there are people using magic and it's just secret. Like, maybe the world would be way worse, and maybe there are people who are doing the stuff you want them to do, and the world's still like how it is.
And the world could be so much better, is all I'm saying.
So do it then.
You would not have said that to me 3 years ago.
Yeah, because you were a first year student 3 years ago.
That wasn't really my point, but all right. I don't know. Maybe I will.
Can I ask you a question?
You can ask.
Do you think I'm a good person?
I do. You're one of the few people here that, in spite of the masquerade, in spite of how you seem to feel about Sophie, I think you're a good person. Do you think you're a good person? Are you not?
I think I'm a good person. And I do feel bad about Sophie. I know you think that I don't, but I do.
It's not the feeling bad part, the thinking that the school did it, and also I sort of remember you thinking that was okay, that she didn't really belong here. So anyway, okay, it's not the point right now. It's not the point right now. You, as best I can tell, and I don't know that I'm the best judge of character, but I think you're a good person.
Okay. Since you think I'm a good person, I should point out that you do have me in checkmate.
I do. Well, I mean, thanks for the game and for the conversation.
I stand up and go to shake your hand.
I like look at it. There's just like, and then I also stand up and reach a hand out.
Yeah.
And I think just as a joke, there's a moment I just like turn my hand sideways, but then let go.
Yeah. I think Aster laughs a little bit and says, "If you think you can make the world a better place, I think you should go for it. I just try, just don't do it in an evil way."
Evil's in the eye of the beholder.
Okay, whatever.
I yep. Yep.
Not a comforting response.
They like Lennox lives in a somewhat morally gray area.
Yeah. The other question with this prompt is what rumors swirled around campus regarding this encounter. And I think there were some other people there who were like, I think there's like a spark. Like Lennox and Aster, I thought they hated each other, but there's like there's
sitting there
something
playing
there.
chess late at night for hours, having a really in-depth conversation. Yeah.
That seemed like they were flirting, kind of.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of rumors about that.
Yeah.
I I think that's your turn
Okay.
to draw.
It is. It is me. It is me. Is that my swords? Those are my swords. Okay.
Also, I have to point out, a
Hmm.
Thomas Sheep said, "Don't get rid of all the gases. We need some of them."
Well, okay, you can have the oxygen, you can have the nitrogen, you can have a little carbon dioxide, maybe a tiny bit of methane sprinkled in for warmth, but that's it. Taking the rest of them. Gonna take all the ozone and the CFCs and whatever's. Man, okay. That feels good. This feels good. Whoa, okay. Okay, rolling, drawing high cards in this one. The Queen of Swords.
Ooh.
Strange hooded figure that seems like dripping in blood or roots or something. Okay.
Oh, that's interesting with this
Well,
prompt.
okay. I mean, and it will be also as I read the prompt. This is very, very related.
Yeah.
Queen of Swords. You noticed that a statue you walk past every day had blood flecked across the sword it held. The blood seemed fresh, and you could sense the vague smell of illusion magic. Was the blood an illusion, or was the illusion hiding something worse? Did you ever
Ooh.
figure out who was responsible for the spell?
Very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. When and again, this like amazing, the sword being the only thing that's not bloody in this is like a nice,
Yeah.
yeah. So this is, I think, this is a statue that is in one of the quads that is on the in close to, oh shoot, where am I am the House of Spires, close to the
Mm.
spire. And it's just kind of like as you emerge from the front door of it at ground level, it's there. And it is this sort of it's the kind of like classical Greek sculpture thing. And there's one I'm thinking of that I want to say is like a representation of Athena, but it's like
Mm.
a tall, actually armored warrior woman, not the like,
Mm.
fucking chainmail bikini bullshit, but like
Yeah.
actual armor,
Yeah.
you know, with like a tall round shield and like one hand on the shield and kind of the sword planted in the ground next to them. And so the blood seems like it's just sort of like coming from like the pommel and dripping down the handle towards the ground. Um, I think the illusion was something worse. I think
Ooh.
it was concealing more. I think
Yeah.
the illusion is concealing that like okay, quick up or down, really gross or like a little less gross.
Let's go really gross.
Okay. It was not Sophie, it was a different student of a similar, we don't necessarily think she belongs here, goes the prevailing sentiment.
Oh, yeah.
And someone just mounted her head on the pommel of the sword and
Ah,
then
that's
cast this
horrible.
illusion so it just kind of looks like this, it's the statue just sort of, not the statue's just like lightly bleeding or coming from there. And then as Lennox emerges one day and like it's probably been there for a little while, and it's
Yeah.
the smell of an illusion and the actual smell of an unpreserved body that
Yeah.
makes them kind of stop. And I without thinking about it, they try to just banish the illusion in front of everyone, or in front, it's
Yeah.
everyone's kind of coming out
It's
of the
like it's a
tower
busy
going towards,
area, yeah.
it is a busy area, at least for the people in the House of Spires. And without thinking about it, they just sort of dispel this illusion and look up at the head of this other student who has been, this is one they're like, there's no way when I tell Aster about this that she can say that the school did this.
Yeah.
No way.
Uh, yeah, that's so good. That's so
Yeah.
creepy. Did
Um,
you ever figure out who was responsible for the spell?
I'm gonna
And
say no.
presumably who's responsible for the murder?
I think it's for one or both murders. I'm gonna say no. I think both because Lennox makes an effort, but the school makes some effort, I think, right?
Mhm.
As this is discovered and announced, rumors spread around, and like quickly, it's the head is carefully removed and they're trying to examine it. The school has some sort of official investigation, and Lennox just goes to himself, they're not going to look in the right place. They think this student they think the student didn't deserve to be here. They're not going to look in the right place. I'm going to look. And although they look and they try to trace where the student was last seen and who might have seen them last, they come up with less than nothing.
Mhm.
Um, just the only thing they're sure about is, 4 days before Lennox discovered the head was the last time anyone saw this person in class.
Yeah.
And they left class, they went to dinner, and they did not arrive back at their house. But no one
Yeah.
no one saw anything, and so Lennox is just like nursing this as similar to no one ever found out who actually killed Sophie.
Yeah.
Whether it maybe Sophie really was the school, but to Lennox, they're like, no one ever found out, and no one ever
Yeah.
found out who killed this person. There's a serial killer here at the school.
Yeah.
It's a good thing
Um
I'm not one of the people that they think shouldn't be here.
yeah, no kidding. Um I think the way um I think the way that Aster remembers this shifts sometimes when she thinks back on it. Because I think she was one of maybe somebody who was going by and saw Lennox reveal this. And I think sometimes
Mm.
when she remembers it as Lennox looking upset and disgusted about what they had revealed. But I think sometimes Aster isn't sure that maybe Lennox looked proud. Um,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
Aster always wonders, was it was it pride at revealing this thing? Was it pride like they did it? Like they killed this person and they're making a spectacle of it? Like I think
Yeah.
but then
Yeah.
sometimes Aster's like, no, I don't think they looked proud. I think they just looked like disgusted and upset about it. So I think it's like a memory that like even Aster questions
I
like what she remembers and what she thinks.
Yeah. I do think I don't think Aster is misguided in what she saw. If there was a moment of pride, what I would say that the thing that occurs to me is that, this was a powerful illusion spell. Whoever cast it,
Yeah.
Lennox is kind of like, it's either a fourth year or like a professor. Like this is
Yeah.
it was a good illusion. I didn't notice for 4 days. And so they have a moment of pride because they broke the illusion. They managed to
Yeah.
dispel it. But it's like the smallest flicker before they look up and go, "Oh fuck, that's just a head.
Yeah.
Just a
Yeah.
dead ass head." Literally. Um,
Creepy. Very creepy.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Um,
mm,
okay. I think
yeah.
that's
Okay.
my
Yeah.
last card for the year then. Which is the Nine of Swords. Someone put a curse on you, and it took the shape of a cold you couldn't shake. Oh, this is upsetting for me personally.
Jesus.
um, your lips were cracked, it hurt to swallow, and your joints ached. You visited the campus healer for help, and they said you'd never get better unless you buried something valuable. They offered suggestions like shaving your head and using your hair, forsaking a family heirloom, or burying your favorite book. No matter what, you could never recover the item, or the curse would return. What did you bury? Where on campus does it rest? Have you checked to see if it remains? Ooh, okay. I need to draw major arcana because I
Yeah.
I have a couple of
Yeah.
different ideas of what this could be. And I drew the magician, which is skill, resourcefulness, manipulation, and will. Um, Interesting. Okay, I think I know the answer. Um, which is I what are the questions it says? What did you bury? Where on campus does it rest? Have you checked to see if it remains? I think I actually don't bury it on campus. And what I think it
Mm-hmm.
is something from my life it, when I was living in like the
Mm,
mundane world. Probably one of the only
mm-hmm.
things that I still
Yeah.
have that I took with me. I think it's a necklace from my mom. I think it's like one of those things that like you turn 18 and your parents are like, "Oh, here's this like thing for you." So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's like an expensive necklace. I think it's like has some kind of engraving on it or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe like a locket with some like
Yeah.
diamond, you know,
Has
like
like
around
an
it.
aster flower inside or something.
Yeah, yeah, and I
Something.
think it
Yeah.
has a like an engraving in it that you know that says uh like you're like the star of our life or something because Aster means star, so it's like something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um, and it has like my mom's initials, I think. And I think I bury it not on campus because I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, if whoever cursed me has to be somebody else at school, so I'm gonna go someplace else and bury it. So I bury it like probably just off, like I go just off of the grounds and bury it. And I think I do check on it at some point and it is no longer there because what I think happens is I think that private detective finds it.
Wow. Uh-huh.
I think I don't bury it deep enough or something like that and the detective already is like okay she was spotted like in this area or whatever and I think it like kind of erodes up out and so we just see like a shot of
Yeah.
like this kind of very stereotypical private detective looking guy in a trench coat holding this and like looking at like the dirt covered locket and the engraving and this is like you're the star of our lives
Yeah.
with Aster's parents initials.
Did so did the detective, he's kind of made his way to the area around the school.
Yeah, I
Did
think
he
so.
did he see you bury it?
I don't think he
Or
saw me bury it. I think it's like he knows that I was like somewhere in that area, and
uh-huh.
because I didn't bury it
And
that
it's
deep,
sort
he
of
was like,
yeah.
maybe someone else saw me bury it. Like maybe there was like a person who was like driving past or something, and I was like, oh yeah, and then he's like asking around, and they're like, oh yeah, I saw someone who looks like that. They were in this location, and yeah, then he finds it there. Um, how is Lennox involved in
Jesus.
this?
Um well, okay. Did you go and did you bury it? Did you try to do it secretly?
Yeah, but I probably would have
Okay.
asked Lennox. I probably would have been like, "I'm cursed."
Oh,
You
yeah, yeah,
probably know
yeah.
about curses. Like
Maybe a little bit here. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think Lennox, there's a like, oh well, depends on the curse. Oh, you look kind of sick, so if it's something that's affecting you in that way, usually sort of either if you can't find the person who did it, you could do like one of these couple things or like but it really depends on the exact curse. Not very helpful. Kind of
Yeah.
like I don't have enough information to be more specific, and I don't know that you want to volunteer it, so I'm going to word vomit all the solutions. Um, and so I've had this impulse before, and I want to see if this is the time that we give
Oh
into it a
yeah.
little bit for Lennox to find the detective and fuck with him.
Yeah, I like that.
So I like to think that maybe I noticed at some point I noticed you like after that conversation noticed you weren't on campus in the usual places
Mhm.
and like went out looking and found wait you named him
Oh
Detective
yeah.
Patrick Terry. uh Found Detective Terry, looking like digging something up and like looking at it, and recognizing someone who doesn't really belong,
Mhm.
Lennox goes up to this person and tries to essentially hypnotize them, like paralyze or mesmerize them for a moment.
Yeah.
Um, I think that I'm going to say, easily manages to do that and takes the locket and is just like, oh, even if I don't know exactly, I'm pretty sure I can suss it out. And there's probably a
Yeah.
little bit of magical resonance between you and this item that I can
Mm-hmm.
sense. And I just look over at the detective and I think Lennox wants to keep not exactly keep Aster safe, but does not
Mm-hmm.
want this person to like I think Lennox goes for the I'm going to erase your memory as
Yeah.
deeply and as far back as I can. So you think you're 22 and you look up at your, beer-bellied 50-year-old self in the woods going, what the fuck
Horrible.
just happened?
Yeah.
Uh, so they do as much of that as possible, whatever it is. Um,
Yeah. I think that makes a
and
lot
I
of sense too because because I pulled the magician and one of the things for it is manipulation. So I
yeah,
think that like really works.
and Lennox at this point, at one time might have just immediately taken the locket back, but I think would put the two together, rebury it somewhere else. It's like
Hmm.
I might not it might not work the same, but as long as it stays buried and it's not I don't bring it back to you.
Hmm.
Um and then would again at some point in the next little while go find Aster to just quietly be like that detective Terry
Detective.
something. So there was a private investigator that dug up your what I think it was
What?
your necklace. Yeah.
A private investigator?
Don't know. I didn't I mesmerized him immediately. I didn't really stop to talk to him, so I'm not super sure where he came from or what was going
Okay.
on, but I don't know if he was looking for you or not. I really don't. But he dug up your necklace, and I thought you should know. I took it. I wiped his mind, so hopefully he won't be back. Hopefully he doesn't remember why he was
Uh,
here. It's fine. It's fine. He was from the plains. It's okay. Don't worry about it. But I
Patrick?
did.
Did you say
Yeah, I think that
Patrick's?
was his name.
Oh, I hope it wasn't
Terry
Uncle
something.
Patrick. Oh. Yeah, that's like
No,
my
I no.
dad's friend.
Well, if he was looking for you now, he doesn't remember that he was. And also I just, I don't know if like kind of looks around. I don't know if the curse removal is going to work since he dug it up. I reburied it. You'll be able to see where
Oh,
I buried it. It's the other side of the tree root. I just kind of like moved it and then shoved him out of the way so he wouldn't see it
okay.
again.
I still feel okay, so I think it worked. I feel
Okay.
kind of bad about Patrick, but okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess I owe you one.
No, no. No. I feel like you would have done the same thing. Um if you want, let's play another game of chess sometime if you're studying late, but you don't owe me anything.
Okay. Okay.
All right. And walks away.
uh, that's crazy because I think it's time for the final exam before graduation.
Oh shit! It is time for the final exam.
Our final rivalry.
We have
You and your
we have been
rival.
studying all night
Yeah.
and remembering all of these things.
Yeah. You and your rival gather in the banquet hall, locking eyes before the exam begins. A temporary platform the length of the room serves as a stage. After watching you two grow in power and stature the last 4 years, every instructor is seated and ready to see how the exam unfolds. Mages from outside the school and current students make up the audience as well. Everything has led to this moment. Will you be bested by your rival, or will you prevail as one of the greatest students the Academy has ever seen? And then there's some questions. Do you feel like you've studied enough? Do you trust your rival to play fair? Are you nervous? Do you even want to win?
Mm.
And then the way that this works for those those watching, The exam pits you and your rival against each other for the duration of 4 complex tasks. And so the way that it works is we uh, build 2 decks for each year of study. Well, we each build one because this is the single player rules. So we build 1 deck for each year of the study, one for each of us. These decks consist of the minor arcana cards you drew during that year. Use the deck of wands from year 1 for part 1, cups for part 2, pentacles for part 3, and swords for part 4. And so we should each have 4 decks with 2 cards each because we did the shorter one.
Yes.
Beginning with the decks from your first year and proceeding through the decks in order, reveal only 1 top card of your deck and your rivals. Compare them, assume that the higher card wins that year's part of the final exam. Numerical cards equal their value. For others, the value is Ace 1, Page 11, Knight 12, King and Queen 13. You can tie. There's not a tiebreaker. And then we determine who wins. So does Lennox feel like he's studied enough?
Lennox, I think Lennox feels in that way that you do before an exam, where Lennox is confident they have done as much studying as they can do.
Yeah.
They didn't spend the last week fucking off. They didn't really get senioritis in the same way, but still they don't know what Aster has been up to, and they
Yeah.
feel I think they feel as prepared as they can, and acknowledging the vagaries of chance and Murphy's law.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I
Has
think,
Aster studied enough?
yeah, I think Aster is telling herself that she studied enough. She does have a boyfriend. She does have like friends. I think by the end of the school time, the whole thing with like people not liking her because the presentation is,
Yeah.
nobody's still
Yeah.
thinking about
No,
that.
it doesn't fucking matter at that point.
Yeah. So I think she has some friends. So I think she's kind of saying like you have to take rest, you have to like do different things, but I think there is a little part of her that knows that Lennox has studied more. Admittedly, Lennox has studied kind of one
Yeah. No,
or
yeah.
two narrow
Lennox
subjects
is
where I think
pretty
Aster's more.
focused and getting pretty in depth in them. Yeah.
And I think Aster never really has an affinity for plants and tea and a little bit of divination, but I think is more general, like is kind of a little bit good at most things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it feels like she studied as much as she can, but maybe not enough to win.
Mm-hmm.
I think she does, for some reason, trust Lennox to play fair. I think she doesn't think that she should
Yeah.
feel that
Yeah.
way, but I think does. Does Lennox trust Aster to play fair?
Not entirely, or perhaps not anymore.
Yeah.
I think for Lennox in this week leading up to it, as they're thinking about it, year one, if the test had been at the end of year one, Lennox would
Mhm.
have cheated his ass off in every way possible and assumed that Aster was playing entirely and completely by the book.
Yeah.
And at this point, and especially how like the last year and a half have gone, they really want to think that Aster will play by the rules and by the book. And the back of their mind is going, yeah, but what about the last year and
Yeah.
kind of the change that we think we see in them.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so not 100%, but real close.
Yeah.
Um, and Lennox is nervous and trying not to show it. They definitely walked to the duel, kind of do it like as if they were walking into a boxing match, like had one of their sycophants as a hype man, like given the other sycophants high fives,
Yeah.
but they are definitely nervous underneath it all.
Aster 100% nervous. And I don't think is as good at hiding it. And I think because she's nervous, doesn't think that Lennox is. I think because
Mm,
she's shaken a little bit, thinks that like you know, the act is working.
Mm-hmm.
And thinks like, "Ugh, Lennox is gonna cream me." This is like, they're not nervous. They
Mm-hmm.
studied. I think is pretty nervous.
Yeah.
Despite that, Aster 100% wants to win. Definitely wants to
Yeah.
win.
Yeah. Lennox Lennox does. Yeah, they're still like, no, if I want the things that winning this duel will give me, even if it's for very different reasons now, and even if I have debatably more altruism in me, I still want to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
where we start out. So okay, here's where I see the smallest flaw.
Uh-oh.
Does well, so okay, so hypothetical.
Mm.
And I'm gonna look at this example scoring on the thing real quick. But if in wands, let's say we each have two, we drew two for wands. If
Mm.
I draw high, we only draw once. You don't do every card. I'm making it stupid
Yes.
and complicated.
Just once.
Never mind. I
So,
was like, does our even number of cards work against us? And the answer is no.
oh,
Only one of them matters.
yeah, only one of them matters. So it'll be a 50-50. I don't even remember. I think you consistently pulled higher value cards than me
I
throughout.
I've
You
been
got a lot of
writing
face cards.
today I did. Last month less. I definitely drew a 3 at one point.
Okay.
A couple threes. Yeah, I might, someone who does better probability and math than me might know, but I think statistically I might have a slightly higher chance just from the cards, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Let's see.
I think we also tied a couple of the cards. So okay,
Yeah.
we
So
got
for part one, this
wands,
is
right?
spells and curses. Yes, wands for the first one.
Okay.
Spells and curses, a showcase of wand flourishes, magical tethering, control of the
Mm,
mystical energy, and the caster's will. So I'm gonna pull my
okay.
card, and I'll just show it straight to the
Um,
camera before I look at it.
yeah, same. I have no idea whichever one's on top. Eyes are closed.
Oh, I guess Ace of Wands. Oh, yeah, 9, because Ace counts as
Yeah,
1.
yeah, ace is a 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Round 1 to Aster. Well, and also I had an ace and a 3. I think that was one of the ones where it's like, there's
Oh.
no way.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I had a 9 and a queen, so that was a gimme for me. Um, yeah. This is so interesting. So I feel like the curse that Aster uses is the one that she had cast on her and the one that Lennox helped her
Mm,
break. The one that makes you
mhm.
like sick and have a cold.
Yeah. Yeah.
So not the I think probably not the most powerful curse. There's probably more curses that she could have used, but I think it's a dig because it's like
And,
you're the one who kind of helped me learn about this and
and
figure out what it
Lennox
is.
just like starts coughing and like can't finish any more incantations and just like after a moment forfeit forfeit just like
Yeah.
and can't actually get any words out to
Mm.
do it to retaliate or to rejoinder.
Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
That brings us to
Mm.
part 2, potions and tonics, the deck of cups. A showcase of disciplined, elemental, and organic manipulation to display a fundamental understanding of alchemical formula.
I feel like Lennox is
Um,
just like, can we just do like actual manipulation? Okay.
yeah.
Because this is
Can we
I
not
think
do
this is
potions the thing that Aster is good at?
yeah. Yeah. Like I think Lennox has spent some time on this just because being able to slip a potion in someone's drink when they're not looking is like a thing that they would definitely do,
Yeah.
but they're not. It doesn't come easily to them, and they haven't spent as nearly as much time on it, I think.
Oh, you know what?
Okay.
Before
Hmm.
we draw this card,
Yeah.
I think that it would be cool to describe a little bit about like what we're wearing and like what we are looking
Oh,
like for this final fight.
yeah. Definitely. Hmm. If you know, go for it. I'm gonna think for a hot
Um,
second.
I think
Hmm.
that Aster is dressed a little more plainly not as
Mm.
many frills, not as much like outward, like, oh look, I'm like a witch. Has
Hmm.
some jewelry, but it's more functional. Like it's kind of like, I think we're allowed to like, you know, like if you have, you know, things that you've made or things that you've bought, like you can use those things to
Yeah.
bolster yourself. So has like some functional, like, you know, a crystal necklace that's like wards
Yeah.
against certain things, or like a ring that like empowers certain, you know, things. But is not very flashy. And I think is wearing a robe that was probably given to her by like a mentor in like the House of
Hmm.
Elements, which is her house, that kind of like Katniss Everdeen kind of vibes, where it's like flaming, and it's like, but it's like all the elements, so like it kind of
Yeah.
shifts between like flames,
Cool.
water, air, and earth, and it's kind of this like, that's probably the
Yeah.
flashiest thing that she has. Other than
I
that, I
love
think she's dressed pretty plainly.
that. Hmm. Yeah. Lennox Lennox has been working on something for a little while that they've really like tried to keep from everyone, and this is when everyone gets to see it. They have painstakingly learned how to sew and embroider,
Oh,
and
wow.
have made like basically transformed a long sort of surcoat, trench coat, somewhere in that range, the thing like that, into like a magical shield by stitching in all of the protection sigils and runes that they've
Ooh.
learned. And and to note, it clearly did not work against this curse. So there's either a
Oh
gap
no.
in it, or it's only so strong, or it's just for show. We're maybe not clear yet.
Yeah.
Um, it's sort of a like ombre from like whitish through yellowy orange down to like red at the closer to the hem, with like black stitching making all these designs. So they have that, and then yeah, like a, you know, sort of functional belt with a couple pouches for little components, and their wand sheath, of course.
Hmm.
And actually toning it down besides the coat, but going for like of sort of a more of a monochrome gray underneath it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there are definitely whispers of people watching noting that we both have the same, not the
Yeah.
same wand, but wand from, you know, the same
Yeah.
tree. And so people saying like, oh, they're so evenly matched. Like, you know, how did this happen? How did they get those wands? I thought those were all like, you know, claimed or non-existent,
Yeah.
destroyed,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, all of that kind of stuff. So definitely people talking about it.
Mhm.
Um, okay, that's, I think potions and tonics are deck of cups, so I don't remember what I had for these cards, so we'll
Yeah,
see.
let's see.
I got
Okay.
mine. 7, and I think, what do I have?
7.
3. You bested me.
Ooh, all right. Wow. I
Neck and
mean,
neck.
Lennox is so fucking psyched to win the potions for sure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I think yeah, so they've been practicing, and I think there's been a small series of explosions, with every time they get it wrong, with like different residue left on the practice room. But yeah, I think
Hmm.
they've like really been practicing to make, you know, this really intricate potion that requires a number of like rare ingredients titrated at specific concentrations and specific amounts, or
Yeah.
else it's unstable. But okay, and I'm like thinking of Hogfather
Oh,
and
yeah.
Terry in Discworld. So like when the wizards are like, what if we how do we cure a hangover? What if we do put everything in a thing? Right, and there's this really wonderful description of like, you know, it's raw eggs and Worcestershire and bread and like whatever the fuck, and
Yeah.
in this large vessel that starts turning gloopy and brown and like emitting weird smells, and the last ingredient is the wow wow sauce, the hottest sauce in the world,
Yeah.
and as the final, they like smacking the bottom to get the final drop out, and the last drop hits this mixture, and there's just like a little boom of light, and then it turns into this like clear, sparkly, effervescent magical
Yeah.
seltzer. And it's like that. Like Lennox is throwing more and more shit in here. And the last ingredient, like very carefully, like one tiny squeeze of an eyedropper, and the potion turns into this like, brilliant purpley blue
Yeah.
thing. And I think it's like a regeneration potion. Like it can like restore a limb if someone lost
Yeah.
a limb.
That's cool. I'm imagining that this is like kind of like the setup for like Iron Chef, where like there's people who are kind of watching this and there's definitely
Yes.
like commentators and stuff like this. So the whole time people are like speculating on what Lennox's potion could be, because I think unlike Iron Chef, they're not like coming
Yeah.
down and talking to us during. They just have
Yeah.
to kind of figure it out. And so people are like, oh, it could be, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. And then like as
Oh, but
that
no,
last
you see
drop
there is
hits
that eye
it.
of salamander. That means it can't be this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And like as the last drop hits and it turns into this like completely other like looking thing, people are like, it's the regeneration potion. Like
Uh-huh.
that hasn't been crafted in like whatever eons,
Yeah,
like something
yeah.
so clear and powerful. Yeah. And I think Aster's definitely steamed at, at this. Is like kind of mad. I'm trying to think of what potions she would have been making. I think she messed up by quantity over quality. I think she was trying to make
Mm-hmm.
like a feast of things where it's like this potion and this potion to show like how
Right.
many different things she could do instead of focusing on like one really impressive thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the whole variety of things that she knows versus yeah.
Yeah, like the one
That
really
mm-hmm.
good thing, which fits our
Mm-hmm.
characters' personalities really
Really
well.
does. Really does.
Uh, all right, part three
Okay.
is Rituals, the deck of pentacles. Oh, I'm shuffling the wrong deck. Pentacles, I mean. A showcase of arcane concentration and geometry using runic and other lost languages to manipulate time, speak with the dead, or other complex magical tasks. This is kind of in your
Mm.
wheelhouse.
I think this is the one that Lennox is like, I think I can do this. I think, yeah, this should be a good one for me.
All right, I got mine.
Okay. I got
Oh, I think I just beat you. You've got 9, I've got 10.
oh,
I
killer.
just
Yeah.
beat you.
Well, and see, that was where I was the choice. It was either going to be a 9 or a king. Nicely done.
Dang.
Nicely done.
So we are just trading them back and forth. This could end
Uh-huh.
in a tie.
It could. It could.
Um,
Um,
okay, what? What ritual would this be? Oh. I kind of have an idea. I
okay.
don't know if it should be this though. Um, so I had a thought um when Lennox discovered the body
Mm-hmm.
outside of your dorm.
Yeah.
Which is, what if Declan was the person who was doing these murders? Because Declan also is in
Ooh.
the dorm
Uh-huh.
of Spires.
Okay.
So I think the way that Aster wins this ritual is one of the things that suggests here is speak with the dead. And so I think she is like something really flashy, the thing that she's been like particularly studying, because she's like, I'm gonna do this thing because Lennox is way better at rituals than me, but if I do something really show stopping, then that'll win this. And so she figures out speaking with the dead, so that she can summon Sophie, the spirit of Sophie, and the spirit of this other person who died,
Ooh.
to be like, who
Uh-huh.
killed you? Like, what
Uh-huh.
happened to you? But made a really bad mistake in that, like, when you're like a lawyer, they always say, like, don't ask a question you don't know the answer to. She did not. I think you can only summon a person once. Like, you can't, like, have that person come
Yeah.
back and then have them come
Yeah.
back again later. So she was like, I don't know the answer to this question. So does this ritual,
Mm-hmm.
but then it's like, and she's like, and who or what is it that murdered you? Did the school take care of you for not being like this, not being your place? or
Yeah.
was it a murder? Was it a serial killer? And I think is as shocked as everyone else when they both spirits don't even have to say anything because Declan's in the room watching this fight, and they
Uh-huh.
both just kind of silently like their turn and point to Declan.
Oh,
Which
the drama. The drama.
yeah.
The serial killer unmasked at the final
as
Prodigy duel. It's yes.
as
Mm.
my boyfriends that I dated to spite you. um, so I think Aster is pretty shaken going into the end. What was Lennox's ritual?
Yeah.
Do you have an idea
Yeah.
for what that would have been?
Um well, okay. So I think they're on the trying to manipulate time. I think that's one of the other things
Ooh.
here.
Mhm.
They've been able to manipulate people and some of these other rituals. They've did a 12-hour thing to summon a demon, and they do not want to do that shit again. Um
Yeah.
so I think they try a like big time manipulation. They try to slow everyone else down. Like, or at
Ooh.
least because I think as I think about it, I think it's more manipulating perception than actual magical manipulation of time.
Hmm.
Um, and so they're trying to sort of make everyone in everyone watching consensually, because I think you have to sort of stand and be like, I have prepared this spell. You
Oh
should
yeah.
all perceive me as moving in incredibly fast motion for the next, well, it's going to feel interminable until I drop the spell, but if it feels like more than a week, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And they try it, and I think it's an overreach. I think it doesn't actually work. Or in the aftermath of hearing that Declan, someone they knew and considered friendly,
Hmm.
killed these people, they fuck up the pronunciation of the dead language, and
Yeah.
it doesn't fully backfire, but it just like fizzles and doesn't work.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, if Lennox wins this last one, which I think you have a good chance of it. I think both of the cards you pulled like what, a page and a
Uh
queen or something for this.
Actually, I think I can't lose this one. Yeah, I pulled a page and queen.
Okay, so if you can't lose,
Yeah,
then we're
I
gonna
think I
end this with
can.
a
Yeah.
tie, which is great.
Yeah.
This is a duel against your rival, the Deck of Swords, a showcase of dexterity, patience, endurance, innate magical talent, and the ability to protect your opponent's next moves, with which Aster has explicitly not been focusing on because she didn't like that she lost a duel like this in her first year. So very
Yeah.
fitting
Yeah.
if she
I
loses.
Well, and it really, again, I think one of the things that stood out to me is how much both of these characters have been able to change and influence each other over these 4
Hmm.
years. And this really feels like a good end to this round of the story in that sense.
Yeah.
That we've both changed enough to be evenly matched, especially kind of how this turns out, that Lennox nails the potion and Aster nails the manipulation,
Yeah.
you know?
I like that. All right, well, let's reveal our cards, even though I think I can't win.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How
You've
did I
got the
do?
queen, and I've got a
I've got a
10, so I think I
queen.
did
All
the
right.
best I could do,
Yeah,
but it wasn't good enough. Um,
yeah.
I would like to just turn the narrative control for this over to you, of how this duel, maybe I guess
Mhm.
using swords. That's what we described in the first
Is
duel
that
that
oh, we
Aster
did.
lost.
Yeah.
I think I said it was kind of
So,
Witcher like.
yes. Yes, I think it is. I think it is, and I love that. I wanna lean into that. Here's what I think has happened over these years. I think that to me, although we haven't said it very specifically, Aster has had Aster is more rooted in the physical world,
Hmm.
and has something of that, and Lennox has always been very intellectual, I think, and mental. So what I like to imagine is that the reason we're evenly matched is that Aster can physically evade Lennox's attacks, physically get out of the way of the spells, just is better at using her sword. And Lennox, although less of a swords person, less less nimble, has better magical skill to complement the physicality they do have. So it goes back and forth for if we we do 3 rounds of 5 minutes each, and each one is basically a tie, because each time there's just this straight 5 minutes of back and forth around this platform of Lennox, throwing spell after spell after spell to sort of like try to drive Aster out of the ring, and Aster being able to flick them aside with her sword, and then lunging back in like physically like a fencer, and Lennox having to like throw up a ball of force to stop her. And this sort of thing where you see the like both halves of this duel, both the physical and the magical, are really pushed very hard, if not to their actual limit. But we're each very different side of the duel. And at the end of the 15 minutes, as they're both just like sweaty and like standing there out of breath, like the embroidery is like sort of burned and slightly melted off of the coat.
Yeah.
And like Aster's robe is like a little bit tattered and like probably nicked at one point. And then like the final bell rings, and I think everyone's just like silent for a minute. And well, there's a little coda for you tie I could read, which actually seems to take place at this moment. Against all odds, you and your rival stare at each other in frustration. The crowd is silent as the headmaster takes the stage, congratulating you both on proving that there is a limit to power. A dinner follows that celebrates the event, and we're both asked to join the academy as instructors. To entice us, we are given access to a secret lounge with a well-guarded fountain. We are told that drinking from it halts the aging process and cures all ailments. No wonder everyone here is tenured. They never fucking leave or die.
That's also really making me think of like, is this magical fountain tethered to this other fountain that they're telling students to throw coins into? Like, is
God.
this like, is
this
stealing time from students to do this?
Absolutely. Like in small increments, but just by the sheer mass of the student body, it works out. Wow. This
Creepy.
is a dark fucking school.
This school is bad.
Shit goes down at this school. Jesus.
The question on the next page is just, where does the magic take you next? And you had the idea, I think before we started the stream, to each pull a card from the Major Arcana to flavor what happens after our graduation.
I want to do that, and I also really want 90 seconds to run to the bathroom like mad and back if we're okay with that.
Yeah, we can do that. Let me go to a break screen.
Yeah. Sorry, 90 seconds. We'll be right back.
We're gonna go on break for 90 seconds. See you in a second. Bye.
Literally 90.
Now. Hi.
Hello.
We're back.
Thank you for bearing with us.
Our quick break. While we're coming back from break, I should also say Mila is canonically first in chat because they redeemed first, even though it was,
canonically
3 hours into the stream.
We'll take it.
That's the way it works. Okay. So, we are going to each pull a Major Arcana card to kind of determine what happens after our graduation, whether we take these jobs that have been offered to us, whether we do something else. Aster's single now, presumably, so does anything happen with that?
Presumably, I don't know. Maybe she really likes a bad boy now? Yeah.
She doesn't. She said as much. She doesn't like a bad boy.
It's true.
All right, I'm gonna pull a card. Oh.
Did you pull death again?
No, but I did pull the lovers.
Oh God. Okay. Well.
If you also pull the lovers, I am going to be struck by lightning.
Right? God, what a perfect ending in many ways, and like horrible. No, I have drawn Temperance.
Ooh, that's such an interesting one for Lennox to have drawn at the end.
Yeah, yeah. Let me see.
Um,
14.
okay. The Lovers is attraction, narcissism, disconnection, and beauty, which I feel like does not bode well for Aster. What are the themes for Temperance?
Temperance is 14. Hmm. Well, so the brief meanings from Tangled Blessing would say lack of control, balance, chaos, remains. Temperance is and the handy little book here.
Hmm.
Temperance is serenity through balance. Seeing what is needed in a
Interesting.
situation and adapting the flow and give and take of nature, finding a community and a system that achieves that harmony. Energy that we pour into our community will in turn fill us up.
That is
Interesting.
such an interesting
Yeah.
card for you.
Temperance is about bringing balance back to one's life and about learning how personal that balance can be. Yeah. That's an interesting one for Lennox. Um, I
Hmm.
I don't think Lennox takes the job at the no, you know what? I was gonna say no. They're gonna do their thing. They're gonna go out in the world, but they're just gonna do it in a slightly smarter way. But now, I I think the duel and the idea that they could sort of inspire and influence generations of minds and many generations,
Yeah.
they take the job, and they, continue, they teach manipulation, and they try to like find all of the subversives every year and like give them the pokes and the prods to try to get them to affect change in the world, and also change the internal structure and ethos of the school, particularly around people that quote don't belong there, and
Yeah.
trying to really push back hard against those narratives.
Yeah. I think Aster definitely takes the job.
Mm.
I don't think there's any reason why she wouldn't anyway. Like I think she's kind of taken this traditional route of like you follow the rules,
Hmm.
you get
Yeah.
ahead, you make friends. But I think also the fact that it's like, hey, you can drink from this fountain and be like young forever. I think Aster is vain, I think. So I think if that if she had any reason not to take the job,
Uh-huh.
I think that's enough to be like, oh, I can be, young forever.
Yeah.
um Definitely is the tipping point. I think I'm trying to imagine what position that she takes at the school, because she
Mm.
doesn't really have a specialty. um I think she ends up becoming the head of the School of Elements, and teaches like kind of a
Mm.
variety of different
Awesome.
like, yeah, yeah, and like teaches a lot of variety of like first year student topics. I think she's a pretty good teacher. Um, and even though she doesn't have a depth, like a specialty
Yeah.
in things, she has a breadth of knowledge and is like good at explaining things. Um, I do also think I with getting the Lovers, I think she's too proud to ever ask Lennox out. She does break up with her murderer boyfriend.
We'd like to
um,
hope so, really,
yeah, yeah. I don't think I think she's too proud to pursue anything with Lennox, even though she is interested. She does like him, especially after like the end of the battle and there's not this rivalry, like then they're like not kind of put in the situation where they're working against each other. I
Mhm.
think though she does put herself in situations where Lennox could ask her out, like pretty free, like I think
Yeah,
is like
yeah,
doing that thing
okay.
where you like someone but you're kind of afraid to do the asking, so you're just kind of like, oh, we're like playing chess late at night, like is still a little bit flirty, but doesn't do anything more than that.
I it might take like a solid couple years because I think Lennox, despite being manipulative of other people, is like very unaware if someone is like subtly-ish trying to manipulate them in this way.
Yeah.
And also just like plain bad at recognizing if someone likes them,
Yeah.
or yeah. But I think after enough time passes since the duel,
Mhm.
uh, I think they would at a certain point, if it be like 4 years later, 5 years later, like it's still happening, be like,
Yeah.
oh, do you want to? Should we go get a drink? Is that what people do? I don't know.
Yeah. I've
Like
been
really,
trying
really
to
nervous.
I've been trying to get you to ask me out for a
Oh,
drink for like probably 3 years.
um, I guess I'm sorry I didn't notice earlier. I don't have an excuse, but I suppose we could start making up for lost time,
I
right?
mean, the last time you asked me out, I did kind of shut you down pretty hard, so I get it.
You're not pranking me again, right?
Oh, when have I pranked you?
I mean, I not pranked. I don't. Setting me up and asking the question, and then like the masquerade. But okay.
I thought you thought I was a good person.
Well, did I ever tell you about the dream I had like a little while before the masquerade? By the
No, but
way,
I already know about it. I was in the it was remember that like smoke shadow thing that was
yeah, yeah, on the North Tower. It happened to another student. Like I think it was last year.
a
Okay,
little,
hold
a
on. Can
little
I do it again?
thumbs up. That's Lennox after asking Aster out.
Yes, very much. Literal fireworks
Um,
going off.
I think Aster is just like, okay, I'll explain it. I'll explain it over drinks.
Great, great.
Nice. Let's
Yeah.
hope there's not a rule at Brackroot that faculty aren't allowed to
Oh,
date each other. There
no,
can't
it's probably
possibly be.
fraternization is encouraged among faculty
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah, I love that.
Amazing.
That's it for our
Ah,
game of Tangled Blessings. Colin, thank you so much for coming back and
my pleasure,
playing the rest of the
truly.
game. This was so much fun. While you are here, what else do you have going on? Where can people find
What
you?
else do I have
Things you have to plug?
some things to plug and some things for the future. First, thank you so much again. You can find me and you can find my podcast, The Roll Report, where you get your podcasts. There's a link in the chat, and also just if you search for The Roll Report, ROLL. I think we're pretty much the top result on podcasting platforms. You can also find my writing in Faces of the Cage on DM's Guild. This is a supplement for the Planescape module that fleshes out the city of Sigil with 16 NPCs and their locations and their art and side quests. All human-made, no AI involved. Really cool bunch of artists and writers, and I'm so fortunate. Check that out. You can also find me, and I will be running games at Big Bad Con in October. I'm also so excited to see Taylor there as well. And
I will be there too.
yeah. So come to Big Bad Con. And if you're in the Bay Area and you want to know about some performing things, there are performing things. I do performance in the real world as well, and I have dance and theater stuff coming up, but it is very specifically relevant to the Bay Area, so I'll let people try to find me if they want to know about that.
Very cool. Yes, you should definitely check out the Roll Report. People who watch the stream will be familiar with Kitty Stryker, who has appeared on the podcast. So, and actually got us in connection with each other. So
It's
shout out to
true.
Kitty
Thank
for
you,
this
Kitty. Whenever you
even
watch
happening.
this, thank you, Kitty.
Yeah. And then, so I mentioned earlier in the stream, I am mostly recovered, still a little bit recovering from COVID. So I haven't been streaming, but I'm in a lot better place than I was. So I'll get back to my regular streaming. Probably next week I'll go back to Witcher streams and stuff like that. But this
Ooh.
Saturday, I am streaming an episode of Over the Table. It's the one that was postponed from before, so it's players versus DMs or the stories. And I'm really excited for that because there's going to be two Taylors. It's going to be me and another Taylor.
Fun.
And then Blair, who people watching Taylor and Blair are both on Lost in Dust, the Thirsty Sword Lesbians game that I was in. So that's
Neat.
going to be this Saturday at 2 p.m. So come back for that. And then next week, probably back to my regular streaming schedule. But I think that's also I'm going to be at Big Bad Con in October. So
Yeah. It's a great time. It's a great time. You could play games like this.
yeah,
Probably.
you could play games like this. You could play test the game that I wrote, Jerks on TV, in person with me,
Cool.
which is very cool.
I'm gonna see if I can
But
get a spot at that table. That sounds
yeah,
awesome.
that would be very cool. I think that's everything though. So, Colin, do you want to say goodbye to chat and goodbye to the YouTube VOD?
You know, I don't at all because it's been so much fun and we could keep playing for hours more, but reluctantly I will. Goodbye, chat on Twitch. Thank you for hanging out with us. Goodbye, future YouTube people. Thank you for watching. It has been such a pleasure. And yeah, this is great.
Yeah. Bye.
Wonderful. Bye.